Get nasty on a Monday. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN with Jamie Rivers. I'm Anthony Stalter. Andrew Marsh here as well. No Carey Davis. He's got the day off. 2:02, your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. What a weekend it was in the NFL. We'll get into the 4 wild card games. We've got 2 games today, too. You've got the Bills and the Steelers kicking off at 3:30 after that game was moved from noon yesterday to 3:30 today. And then tonight, Jamie's middle child, the Buccaneers, take on the defending NFC champion, Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll get into those matchups. Also have some thoughts on the Cardinals winter warm-up and some of the things that came out of that. But let's start off with your Blues. Jamie?
Yeah.
Power play. I know they lose 4-3 in overtime to the Bruins on Saturday night. But, boy, this power play looks completely changed.
Yeah, it's a lot better. It just, for me, it's a great example as to how important the power play is and what kind of difference it can make. Because you score those 2 goals against the Rangers, and it catapults you to a spot where the game's out of reach. You score the 2 goals against the Bruins, and you end up salvaging a point out of the game. So
good way to look at it.
That's 3 points right there. Think of the points that have been given back by the Blues all season long because the power play has been deficient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can speculate all we want, but I'd say it's 4 games, maybe 5 games that they've lost because the power play hasn't performed well. If you add that into the standings, they're way up there.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see the power play get rewarded. Drew Bannister had wanted a net front presence. He specifically said, we need more of a net front presence. That's why Jake Neighbors is going to go there. That's why Oscar Sundqvist is going to go there. And guess who scored the 2 goals on Saturday night? Jake Neighbors and Oscar Sundqvist.
Jamie, going back to the power play, your point about that, it's kind of like not having, if you don't have a power play, you don't have the long ball in baseball. You don't have that ability when it's a 4-1 game a little bit later on to hit a 3-run shot to get you back into it. It's that inability to throw the ball vertically in football, or maybe convert your free throws. Everybody shoots a 3-pointer now, so I don't think that's necessarily the crossover to basketball. No pun intended there on the crossover.
Well done.
But free throws, not being able to sink your free throws to be able to keep you in it, or at least pick up what should be easy points or easy goals as it would be in hockey. So you're right. They had a large component of their game missing, and not only was it missing, it was benefiting their opponents. Either the inability to get back in a game in a blink, or the opponent having an opportunity to increase their lead late and not have to worry about you coming back because you had no power play.
Yeah, and it's really, there hasn't been any major strategic change to this. The only thing that Drew Bannister has asked for is a net front presence and more pucks to the net. That's it. He hasn't really, to my knowledge, of course, I'm not in the power play meetings and whatnot, but Drew Bannister has been pretty open about, the way he's working with the team and his strategies and things like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like much has changed except for get more pucks to the net and get more bodies to the net. And he'd like to see that exact formula replicated 5-on-5, too. And I think that's an area that the Blues can continue to improve on as well. But it's nice the power play got a couple goals, man.
Jamie, why is there sometimes, and I'm not just talking about the Blues, but any team, why is there a lack of, is it willingness? Is it effort to get in front of the net? Because I feel like whether it's 5-on-5 or the power play, the teams that can consistently crash the net do a better job of scoring in those situations, or just are a better team overall. So is it unwillingness? Is it compete? Is it effort? What is it?
So let's just, before we get into what it is, let's just look at teams that do it. And we just got a mouthful of these teams. We got Florida, we got the Rangers, we got Boston. All 3 of those teams put pucks and bodies to the net on a consistent basis. How are those teams doing in the standings?
Pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well.
Pretty well.
Yeah, they're playoff teams.
Yeah, top teams in the Eastern Conference.
And contenders. They're legit contenders. Florida was in the Stanley Cup final last year. So if that just goes to show you what the benefits are of being a team like that, well, there you go, right? Firsthand. And we just saw it. And it's a combination, too. It's not necessarily that guys don't want to go there. Some guys just aren't wired to recognize when it's time to go there.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah, they're wired to play the cycle game from the corner, to get wide open back door for for a beautiful play. They're wired to be up high in the slot to where they can maybe get a one-timer. they're just not thinking about meat and potatoes. They're not. It's not their fault. Whoever they played before, whoever coached them, however they were brought up playing, it's just not like automatic for them. Whereas you look at a guy like Jake Neighbors, the way he was brought up to play in the league he played in and the style it's automatic. Let's get to the net. Because the hungry dog gets food at the net. And that's just the way to put it. So so some guys, it's not necessarily a lack of willingness, just like they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And then when you try to retrain them to get back to the front of the net, it's tough because you'll have some moments where they'll have 2 or 3 guys in front of the net and other moments where you have dry patches and nobody around the net anymore. It's a lost art as far as I'm concerned. It used to be a badge of honor to get to the front of the net and score goals. There are guys like Dino Ciccarelli, guys like Thomas Holmstrom, although the best net front guys you can think of took an absolute beating in front of there. Keith Tkachuk, all those guys. It was war in that area before.
Yep.
It's not anymore. So go there. I guarantee you, Jake Neighbors, half his goals, in fact, more than half his goals, are from 3 feet around the blue paint. Can I tell you, he's got 13 goals now on the season. If you want to score 20 goals in this league, go to the net.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And, so now I think Drew Bannister is kind of pounding that home, as Craig Berube did, as a lot of coaches around the league do. It's continuous reminders and video and things like that to make guys realize that there is a benefit to it.
Speaking of Craig Berube and Drew Bannister, I have to admit, I was one of the more vocal ones the day that we talked about, I know he was fired the night before, but the day we talked about Craig Berube being let go, I was as hot as anybody. I think you were more measured. You were kind of looking at it from a practical standpoint of here's what happened, even though you had emotional ties to it too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was furious that day, and a lot of Blues fans were. I got to give Drew Bannister a lot of credit. This product has looked better over the last, 13 games, 14 games that he's been in charge. That takes nothing away from Chief. He won a cup here. He's going to have another head coaching job in this league, and he's going to do a fantastic job. For whatever reason, the message wasn't getting through. It's getting like it is now with Drew Bannister. I hope it continues. All I know is the last 13 games the product has looked different. And when you compete with the Bruins, when you beat the Rangers, when you beat the Lightning, you beat the Panthers, you start to you take notice. It's not a fluke. They're starting to get things corrected, especially this power play. So I give Drew Bannister all the credit in the world. I give Drew all the credit in the world. I give the players credit too, because it doesn't matter who you put behind the bench. If the players don't respond, the players don't respond. If they have no accountability and they have no pride and no compete, then it doesn't matter. You put anybody behind the bench. You put Scotty Bowman, the winningest coach of all time, behind that bench, you're not going to get a different result. Yeah. So credit to the players as well. And I think, we talked about it last week. It is a bit of a wake-up call sometimes for the players. When you have a coach that has been, as beloved as Craig Berube, and he loses his job, and one of the reasons he loses his job is because the players can't play consistent hockey. Like, that's really not on the coach. Yeah. Quite honestly, when everybody in the hockey world was talking about the Blues being inconsistent, that's really a small knock on the coach. It's a massive knock on the players because, once again, the coach coaches, the players play. Right. So if they're inconsistent on the ice, that's on them. Because it doesn't matter what he's saying. If they're unwilling to do it or unable to do it, it's on the players. Yeah. So I think the combination of all of those things, and now bringing in a head coach who is very sure of himself, very well thought out, very passionate, and, it seems to energize the group a little bit, and we're seeing the results. The results are more competitive efforts from puck drop to final buzzer. And the other night against the Bruins was a clear indication of that. You got down 3 times. Every goal you gave, you're down 1-0, down 2-1, down 3-2, and you tied it up. You lost a point because the referee was huffing glue over there in the neutral zone and missed a tripping call. Bottom line. It's the same guy from the Lions Cowboys game a couple weeks ago.
And the Lions Cowboys game yesterday where the guy jumped into the neutral zone area there and they called it on the Lions. Yeah, that guy. I think he's double dipping. Yeah. Yeah. Unreal.
Doug Armstrong, too. I was very critical of Army, that decision. He saw a roster that was capable of more. We got a long way to go here, but so far that decision was also panned out for Doug Armstrong. I don't want to overlook that.
Yeah, you're right.
Again, still a long way to go here. Blues Flyers tonight. We got pregame for you at 6 o'clock right here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers will be with us until 4 o'clock. Dan McLaughlin is going to step in. and fill out the final 2 hours here on a MLK Day. So if you're off today and you're joining us, we appreciate you listening. Again, Carey Davis is off. He'll be back tomorrow. Jamie with us for the first 2 hours before he heads downtown for Bally Sports Midwest and the Blues and the Flyers pregame. Again, right here on 101. Starting at 6 o'clock. Speaking of Lions, we got to get into this. We got to get into the Lions.
Yeah, baby.
We'll start off with the disaster that is the Dallas Cowboys. We'll save, but the Lions beat the Rams in the most competitive game, the most rewarding. If you were a casual fan and your team had been eliminated from the playoffs, if you didn't find yourself rooting for the Lions last night, you don't have a pulse. We'll talk about it next on 101 ESPN.
Anthony, FanDuel is America's #1 sports book for so many reasons, but especially right now, come playoff time in the NFL. Wild card weekend ain't over yet either.
Nope.
We don't have one, but we've got 2 games today to have fun
Got
with.
Afternoon NFL playoff action. Come on.
On a Monday. I love it. And I love FanDuel. They've got so many great options from whether you're betting, the spread or prop bets, player props. They have a list of suggested bets for you. They really do it right at FanDuel.
Yeah, if you're in Illinois, you could do the live betting as well. So you see what's going on. Maybe you're in the Packers and Cowboys game over the weekend. You say, I don't think this game is going to slow down from a point standpoint. Let me do a live play. You could do it all at FanDuel. So new customers get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/fast and join today. Again, that's FanDuel.com/fast. Don't forget that join fast to get the promo code. Then you can take advantage of that $150 in bonus bets. And Jamie, you can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
21 and older, present in Illinois. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after a street. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Jamie, you and I have, and by the way, it was Mike Tirico, ESPN, on the call last night. Actually, no, NBC on the call last night. Excuse me. ESPN will have tonight's game.
You're really into
Bucs.
the makers, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Mike Tirico used to do Monday Night Football.
He did. Right, but let's.
By the way,
let's give
Anthony,
the audio the correct audio.
If you're getting into the makers, right now they have a new one out. It's called Snow Day.
What?
It is amazing.
Where can I get that?
You can get that at any of your local dirt cheaps.
Thank you. Keep that in mind. So the Lions beat the Rams 24-23. They held on, really, but it was a game in which, Jamie, as I'm watching this, you and I have the shared experience of living in Detroit for multiple years. In fact, you and I were there at the same time. We didn't know it.
Hey, you kept sending me that fan mail.
I did, yeah. Jamie, you're my favorite.
Yeah, it was weird.
Red Wing of all time. Even though Pavel Datsyuk and
You're like, I
Stevie
loved you
Y
with the
and-
Panthers. I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, it was one game. But you and I were there at the same time. We know the magnitude of what last night meant to Lions fans. To put this in perspective, I got a buddy, Drew, who I went to college with at Fire Up Chips, Central Michigan, diehard Lions fan. He had not seen a playoff win since he was 9 years old. I'm a Falcon fan, long tortured. They're terrible. I've seen them win like 15 playoff
They
games.
even got to a Super Bowl.
They
Anthony.
even got to 2 Super Bowls.
They got to 3/4 of almost
Before the
winning ones.
Lions won a playoff game. Like, that's insane. When I think about last night, too, Jared Goff on one side, Stafford on the other, it was kind of perfect. It was kind of poetic because Matthew Stafford tried as he could to get the Lions over the hump. He couldn't. And the Rams knew, Sean McVay knew, they needed somebody to elevate the offense. Even though Jared Goff had gotten to a Super Bowl, Sean McVay realized, I need something more. You saw Stafford. Stafford was incredible last night. The throws that he made, the beating he took.
Yeah, he did.
Him and Puka Nacua, they were the reason why they're in that game last night.
Yeah.
So you saw on one side why they made the deal. But how poetic to have Jared Goff standing there as the crowd is shouting, Jared Goff, like they were chanting his name. He's the guy who was ran out of L.A. He was the afterthought. It was the Matthew Stafford trade. He was the guy to get it done for that team. And they're going to host another playoff game. That's incredible. I was fired up for them last night.
So many things happening during that game. Honestly, I mean, I knew about him kind of being like, not run out of L.A., but I had no idea the magnitude to where they were just like, they're done with this guy. Like, he can't get us there. He's not the guy. Like, very open about it.
Right.
And so Jared Goff.
They didn't even do the it's not you, it's me thing.
No,
No, it's you.
No, it's pretty much all you.
Right.
Which is why we're getting rid of you.
Right.
And we're going to bring in somebody who's better than you. And he was. For a Super Bowl, he won. Right away, Matthew Stafford was a guy. But then, to go back and hear about the project that Jared Goff has been for the Lions and just listening to, Dan Campbell and people talking of Dan Campbell, of the way he has rebuilt Jared Goff and the confidence that he has instilled in not just him, but the rest of the team. And then, to get to last night's game to where, the Lions played physical. It was a street fight for them.
Yep.
And fittingly so in front of that crowd. I couldn't believe the first possession that the Rams had. You couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
There's
From your
nothing.
couch, you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I turned to my wife, Chris, and the kids. I go, that place is deafening right now. And you've been there. I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
That place can get loud. Those fans are incredible. Even when they went 0-16, they showed up to march to protest, but they still showed up and they went there. But that was a fun night. They deserved it. And now, again, they're going to host another playoff game. Let me state this, too, because you mentioned the physicality from the Lions. I was completely wrong about the Lions this year. Let's go back to the draft. I said I don't understand what they're doing with the draft. I don't know why they got a running back in Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. They could have gotten a more impactful position. It's got nothing to do with the player, but a more impactful position. They took an off-ball linebacker in Jack Campbell. Then they went with a tight end from a horrible offense. And I got crushed by people because they're like, hey, the kid's from Highland. I wasn't talking about Sam Laporta specifically. I was talking about the offense. You gave up T.J. Hawkinson. You gave up DeAndre Swift. What are you doing? Well, look at last night. Gibbs, incredible.
How is he good?
They let go of Swift, who will play tonight. Like, Swift's had a good year for the Eagles. But David Montgomery, they picked up in free agents. He scored the first touchdown and made one of the best plays of the game on that late first down when he made a move on a corner and got free for first down. Campbell, part of that physicality. That run defense was outstanding and has been outstanding. And Laporta, one leg that kid played on last night, caught another touchdown. Incredible year. I couldn't have been more wrong about the way the Lions built their roster because you saw it play out last night. All of those pieces contributed.
I thought it was so fitting that there were a couple of moments in that game that were straight up Dan Campbell and his Lions. The fourth down, they go for it, and they punch it in the end zone. Mm-hmm. Had they went for three, they lose the game.
Yeah.
Just in hindsight, look at now. If they're missing those points, they lose the game.
The touchdowns for the Lions compared to the Rams field goal, that wound up being a key component.
Well, Sean McVay had little BBs in his pants, and Dan Campbell had a wheelbarrow for his. Bottom line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then 2nd and 9 to end the game.
He throws it.
Everybody's running the ball.
Right.
Almost everybody. Mm-hmm. Dan Campbell's like, no.
We're going to go for it.
Or his offensive coordinator, whoever got together on the headset.
That's a Dan Campbell call.
And said, no, I trust Jared Goff.
Yep. Ben Johnson, let me clarify. Ben Johnson is the offensive coordinator. He called the play. But Dan Campbell, as the head coach, remember going back a year ago, I go, Dan Campbell's got to figure out how to be a head coach. He did last year. That's his call. He goes to Ben Johnson, go for the win, throw it. Because he could say, run, bleed clock.
And then
he didn't.
Rely on the defense.
Yes, but he didn't. So that's a great point.
I thought two things, the Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford trade, that was a win-win for both teams. The Rams end up winning the Super Bowl, and now the Lions have their quarterback. So from a win-win standpoint in terms of the trade, I think both teams ended up coming out victorious in that.
Definitely.
You can't say that about the Browns and the Texans situation, which played out also this weekend. We'll get into that later. But the second thing, you mentioned Sean McVay. The whole, narrative of Dan Campbell not making the right decisions in the right moment. You just, sometimes he makes the right decisions, sometimes he doesn't. I thought that was interesting because Sean McVay is the one guy who you think of offensively, he's the mastermind, right? They burned 2 timeouts offensively.
You're right.
Ended up costing them. That was the difference in the game.
You're absolutely right, Marsh. I'm glad you brought that up. As the clock was winding down, actually, when they punted, and that's a tough spot, right? The odds are against you from picking up that first down. But as they were trotting the punt team out there, I thought this is why you have to have your timeouts.
Well, and I thought they didn't even need to get a first down. They just needed to get some extra yardage to then kick the field goal.
Right.
They didn't need the first down. They needed more yards to kick the field goal, which now, again, the Lions probably go down and score, but maybe they don't. Maybe the curse lives on. But
of course, if they throw the flag on the Nakua play, too, they're set up.
Oh, there's no flag.
I'm okay with that.
There's no flag there.
The Lions have...
He's got to stand up.
I was okay.
It was draped all over him, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
The Lions got screwed a couple weeks ago, so
of course.
They got screwed again last night, too, guys.
Yeah, they did.
Come on.
Yeah.
That was a pivotal moment, too.
Yeah. You're talking about the encroachment?
Yeah.
Right.
They call the false start. They call false start when it's the defensive guy who jumped through the neutral zone.
And we had just seen that with Green Bay and Dallas, too, where they flagged it on the defense. Yeah, great moment last night. Now, we will get into the Dallas game. We will get into Cleveland and Houston. We got some thoughts on that, especially with the Cowboys. I mean, Mike McCarthy's in some trouble. Let's just be honest about this. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But we'll jump into the Cardinals. How bad of a look was it for the Cardinals in winter warm-up, some of the things that were said? That's next on 101 ESPN.
Well, if you're thinking about selling your home right now, or you're not sure if right now is the right time to sell your home, if you have any questions at all about the market, then you need to be hiring the best in the business. And that is Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And here's a couple reasons why. Gloria has several options available to the seller. The one that I love, that is my favorite, it's called Guaranteed Sales. And all that is Gloria will sit down with you, the home seller, and she will agree upon a sales price. And then she'll buy that house, or she'll make sure she sells that house for that price, or she buys it herself. And she guarantees all of that in handwriting. And she's so confident to sell your home because she has thousands of ready buyers in her exclusive database. These buyers create a higher demand and ultimately more money for you when you sell the home. So please don't hesitate. Call Gloria Liu today. Her number is 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or you can visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Conditions do apply. Gloria and the seller must agree upon the price and possession date.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues lost this weekend to the Boston Bruins in overtime. They'll be back in action tonight, taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. Pregame starts at 6. Puck drop is at 7, and you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. We just talked about the Lions defeating the Rams. Other games this weekend in the NFL, the Texans defeated the Browns, the Chiefs over the Dolphins, the Packers beat up on the Cowboys, and like I said, the Lions defeated the Rams. Today, the Bills will host the Steelers, and the Buccaneers will take on the Eagles. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Oh, so do you think I'm going to get booed today? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm going to need that. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough business, right? I've had a lot of success here, but one bad year and it's throw them out. But, yeah, hopefully we rebound.
What was that from? Marshy, did you make that up, or is that actually the way it rolled?
I did not make that up. I did not change anything.
That sounded like totally edited.
This is John Mozeliak at the winter warm-up.
Who's he talking to?
Cardinals
there?
winter warm-up. Media. The media availability.
Oh, my goodness. That was odd and funny.
Knowing what we do, knowing that we have access to some of the most passionate and angry Cardinals fans, could you have thought of a worse thing to say if you were Mo than what you just heard? One bad, he had a lot of success, but one bad year. One bad year. Throw him out.
Why would you even go there?
My man.
Why would you go there? I would just say, hey, I don't blame everybody for being mad, because we have the way you Trojan horse that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is you say, instead of saying what he said, you say it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
You say, hey, I would be angry too. The amount of success this franchise has had, to have that season last year is unacceptable.
Well done.
He's probably just fed up, though.
Right there.
Well done.
You're literally saying the same thing.
But it is way different when it hits my ear hole.
Yeah. Don't you think he's just fed up, though? Like, people are not going to like him regardless.
No, you're right. And he can't worry about losing the press conference or winning the press conference. He's got to worry about winning games. And you know what? If the Cardinals win, like let's just say they get in, they have enough breaks and all that crap, and they win a World Series. It's not going to happen, but let's just say it does. Nobody's going to care.
No.
Nobody's going to care. But to kind of be that tone deaf is really remarkable. I think if it were me, I would say, yeah, I would have booed me too. Yeah, last year was unacceptable. Let's get back to winning.
I would have made a joke of it. I honestly would have said, yeah, it's one thing.
I think he tried.
One thing to get booed at Busch Stadium, it's another thing to wake up for my coffee in the morning, my wife's booing too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, times are tough right now.
Times are tough right now, yeah. So, Marsh, you wanted to talk about something that Sonny Gray said.
Yeah.
And this actually irritated you more than what Mo said.
Oh,
so
here's all fired up.
Here's Sonny Gray talking over the weekend at the winter warm-up about a conversation that he and Mo had after he signed.
One thing that I really appreciated from that first initial conversation was Mo's willingness to listen to what I had to say. I listened to him, but he was willing to listen to what I had to say, and he would say, can you tell me more about that? Can you tell me more about that? So then he went down the pitching department and the people that were here, and then I said, well, what about this? Do you have a guy for this and this? And he said, no, tell me more about that. So then we did, and I think there have been some new hires within the pitching department, which hopefully would be beneficial for all parties involved. So, yeah, I really appreciated Mo's willingness to do that, and then our conversations were great.
So from, just listening to what he said, it sounds very positive. They're listening to what he has to say.
Some collaboration.
That sounds great. The way that I read it on Twitter, and then we listened to it, that does not change my opinion on the fact that there's a free agent coming in telling you what you need and you don't have it. Why?
Yeah. Right.
What is going on here?
This, I think, is more evidence of what we've talked about.
Yeah.
Dan McLaughlin will be joining us from 4 to 6, has talked about it, where the Cardinals have fallen behind in certain areas. Is stuff like this. Whether Sonny Gray was talking about like the pitching labs or some of the resources that are available for pitchers at the big league level, the Cardinals have fallen behind. If I'm being nice and just kind of matter of fact, the Cardinals are that organization or that company that said, we did this and we had a lot of success for a long time and we were first. We don't have to change a thing. And then teams caught up to them or companies caught up to them. They made no adjustments and they still operate as if, hey, we got it all figured out.
Blockbuster.
You don't. Yeah, Blockbuster. Right. I'm not going to give you my business.
Hey, I'm still in
Redbox.
mourning over that, okay?
I think everybody is.
For Blockbuster?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Blockbuster.
It was fun to go in there and
Yeah, it was.
worry about whether or not you were going to find the movie you wanted. Yeah. But that's the way I view the Cardinals at times. And then they're kind of pompous about it. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I think that's the biggest problem I have about all of this, is that the Cardinals are kind of pompous about all of it to begin with, thinking that it's the Cardinal way and we do things a certain way here and we have this and this and this.
Right.
Meanwhile, you don't. And I think that's the biggest mistake you can make, is thinking that you have it all figured out, because you never do. Just like anything in life, everything continues to evolve. No matter what business you're in, it continues to evolve. Now, pro sports, it's ever evolving, from players to strategies to performance to whatever it is. How are you not further ahead on this? Here's what I want to know: is how did the other guys not tell Mo about this? Like, where were they on this? Adam Wainwright, Miles Michaelis, all these other guys, are they just so zeroed in on what the Cardinals have to offer that they didn't, like, we know they have buddies.
Well, do they know any better? I mean, Adam Wainwright spent his whole career here,
Marshy,
for the most
the
part.
World Baseball Classic, any All-Star games you go to, guys know each other. They work out together in the summers, and they do things. You cannot tell me that the Cardinals didn't know that other teams were doing different things to maximize their pitching department. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me they didn't know. So you can claim ignorance to a certain extent, but it's really more arrogance than anything else, because he thought, we'll just do it our way because we know what to do. Have you seen the guys we've had in the history of baseball and pitching? Okay, well, your pitching has been your biggest problem in the last handful of years.
Yeah.
So that's what ticks me off, is that there's more of an arrogance about it now. All of a sudden now. Had the Cardinals made the playoffs last year, we wouldn't be talking about this. You know why? Because they'd think the Cardinal way, whatever we just did is fine. We got in again.
Right.
So maybe that's what angers me, is that it took a terrible season to now all of a sudden, well, tell me more about this.
Right.
Really, you don't know, Mo? How you're president of baseball operations? I know everything about the NHL. Ask me any question about development, video, like skills. I know everything. I don't even work in the NHL.
Hey, do you think that
How the hell do you not know when you're the president of baseball operations?
if you're a free agent, say you're in Sonny Gray's shoes and the same exact conversation happens and you ask those questions and he says no, are you more inclined to sign with that team, or are you going to be like, you don't have any of these things? Like, why should I come to this organization if you don't have these things that is going to maximize my success?
Marsh, it's similar to, or the equivalent of, a high schooler being recruited, and Oregon has incredible facilities and all this, and then you go down,
and cool jerseys,
and you go to another program and they're like, yeah, weight room's a shed. Okay, come and go as you want. We've got tires and chains and milk cartons. You'll be great.
Milk carton.
Like, really?
Who was missing?
Gallons.
Oh.
Not necessarily cartons.
Well, you said carton.
I did. That's my fault. Yeah. Well, it's a really poor school, so you feel like you're already behind before you step on campus. Now, I'm not saying that you need all that stuff
for sure
to win. I'm just saying, I am saying, go back to what Jamie has always told us about the Red Wings, and you had talked about Ilitch.
Oh yeah.
And how one of the first days you got there, the owner, Mike Ilitch, looked at you and said, let me know what you need so that You don't have to tell me that you didn't have what you needed to win a Stanley Cup.
That's it.
Done.
He literally said, we provide everything to you. If there's anything that's missing that you need, let me know. Otherwise, the next time I'll see you is when we're holding the cup in the air in June.
That is an owner.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Are we looking too into this? Like, am I thinking
Probably,
that this is something
but-
more than what it is?
No, I don't think so.
When there's a trend,
I don't think so.
there's a trend now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a trend of the Cardinals are behind. They're behind.
That's why I don't think that we're wrong or that we're overreacting. And this basically because of that one word, trend. So the trend is advanced analytics and more guys in the pitching staff and these pitching labs and all that. That's the trend.
Mm-hmm.
You missed the boat. Now you're trying to paddle your ass off to catch up to the boat.
Right.
Like, that's the problem I have with it. I don't think it's overreacting. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, you're right. Has Matthew Kessel changed the Blues' fortunes on defense? We'll get into that conversation next on 101 ESPN.
I was happy with our D. Like, I thought our D played hard. Like, they played well here tonight. Prune and Kess, when they did play together, I thought they did a good job. But, as a whole, I was happy with our D core. I thought they defended well. They moved pucks well. And they got the pucks up to our forwards in transition when we needed to.
That's Blues interim head coach Drew Bannister following the game on Saturday night against the Bruins with Jamie Rivers and Anthony Stalter. Don't forget the Blues and Flyers pregame today at 6 o'clock here on 101 ESPN. Jamie's with us for the next hour plus. Has Matthew Kessel changed the Blues' fortunes on defense, Jamie? You just heard Bannister mention Kessel specifically.
I don't know if he's changed the fortunes, because that's a lot of weight to put on the youngster who really wasn't in the plans for this season. At least he wasn't originally. But when I watch him play, you can't take him out of the lineup.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, and he's just getting better. Now he had a couple of offensive opportunities last game, which, he really hadn't playing before. He's just been very solid defensively. And so, like Tyler Tucker, he got Wally pipped without being injured. And I'm not being mean. I'm just saying Matthew Kessel came in here at a time where Drew Bannister wanted a right-handed shot to put in the game because Justin Falk was day-to-day or on the 7-day IL, whatever. And so Kessel got a chance to play with Torrey Krug. And the moment he played his first game, he leapfrogged the other guys. Mm-hmm. And so now when you look at the lineup, like, Falk is back, so what do? Marco Scandella is going to be a healthy scratch for the second straight game, which Marco Scandella's been playing good. I'm not unhappy at all with Marco Scandella's play this season. I think he's done exactly what you need him to do. I think he's provided exactly what you want him to do. But you have Scott Perunovich, who's continuing to develop his confidence with the puck and the way he sees the ice. You can see that it's starting to make an impact. And Matthew Kessel has been so solid that you just can't take him out of the lineup. Those two guys make your team better right now. And if you're in the business of winning games, which you are, then you got to play them. And so Tyler Tucker gets sent back down to the American League for conditioning. All that means is they want him to play some games, kind of get his game back to where it needs to be. And then we'll see, what happens from there. But it's been great to see a young defenseman come in here that everybody knew about but didn't really know what the actual impact would be from said player. And I watch him closely. He just does the little things right. Nothing fancy. Of course, there's mistakes. I mean, every guy on the ice has mistakes. But he just does the little things very well, and he plays hard. Like, he's not vicious out there. You're not going to see him, like, really physically hurt somebody, but you're also not going to see anybody have an easy go out there. Mm-hmm. He engages physically. He engages early to make contact early so he can control the opponent. Does a good job with his stick, gets it on the pucks. He's not afraid to block the shots. Now he's jumping up into the play just a little bit to create some offense. Really like what I've seen out of him, and that's why he's still in the lineup. And tonight they'll start out as a pair with Perunovich and Kessel, but remember me saying this, that you'll see those guys spotted in to play with other guys. So you'll have Perunovich with shifts out there with Colton Parayko. You'll have Kessel out there with Torrey Krug. You'll have Kessel with Leddy. You'll have some kind of a mix and match depending on the situation, depending on where the face-off is and things like that, just because if I'm Drew Bannister, I don't know if I want to just ride or die yet with the two young guys in my third pair. Yeah. But when the other team does play their fourth line tonight, you'll see them out there paired up together. And then when you need more ice time for them or you're looking for a spot, odds are you'll see Perunovich out on the ice with Parayko in an offensive zone face-off, and odds are you'll see Kessel on the ice with either Krug or Leddy in a defensive zone face-off.
So, Jamie, when it comes to finding the right pairing, when do you know? Because I feel like there's a lot of mixing and matching in hockey. It has almost become, in my opinion, how baseball is with the lineup. Like, we're just going to tinker the ever-living crap out of it.
Not always, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
And then you find some success, and then, like, one game doesn't go right, two games doesn't. All right, time to tinker again. Is that just normal? Or is that just for the Blues? Is that, like, what? Am I crazy in thinking there's always a lot of tinkering going on, especially with the defensive pairings?
Yeah, you're not crazy. I think that
I am, just for different reasons.
This is way different. That's a whole other category. But no, you look at the game of hockey, and there's so many different situations out there. You have power play, penalty kill, even strength, last 5 minutes of the game, up by a goal, down by a goal, goalie in, goalie out. Like, you have a lot of decisions to make on personnel that's going to be on the ice at certain times. And I think that so far, I think the defense have been kind of, set up. Like, you've got the top 4 guys.
Yeah.
Got Letty, Parayko, Krug, and Falk has kind of been the staple. Now, where you've had a little bit of a revolving door is on your bottom 2, but that's usually natural. Every team goes through that because most teams carry 7 defensemen, and so you got to find ice time for everybody. So it's kind of the spot where you do it, and then you elevate within the lineup depending on the situation. Like Perunovic will play power play, whereas Kessel will play some penalty kill probably. You get a little bit more ice time in those situations. And, yeah, you got guys some nights that – sometimes people think, oh, that guy's just not going tonight. Sometimes guys are nursing an injury that isn't severe enough to be put on the IL, but it's enough to be affecting them. And then the coach knows about this prior to the game and then sees something that he doesn't like or sees where it's kind of come into play, and he switches up some lines. Says, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to pivot this way. Or sometimes guys just have bad games, bad period, bad shifts, and coach wants to see something different.
Last week we had the conversation of Scott Perunovic maybe eventually playing with Colton Parayko. Could we see that situation play itself out with Matthew Kessel? Not now, but in the future. Does he profile as being a guy that could play with Colton Parayko?
Well, under Drew Bannister, you won't see it happen because 2 right-handed shots. He doesn't like it. And I don't blame him. Look, we tried that with Petro and Falk and all those guys, and we had the whole slew of right-handed defensemen here. It didn't work. And it's the same with left-handed defensemen. Like, you need 5 guys in the lineup. It's kind of counterproductive. So I think that the future for Kessel is probably in the second pairing. He's never going to dethrone Colton Parayko as a number 1D on the right side. Like, you're just not. And it might be a while until he even encroaches into the territory of Justin Falk. Let's not forget how good he is. So I think Matthew Kessel, before we have to worry about elevating him in the lineup and more responsibility and he's the next one, how about he just plays every night really, really good in the third pairing and pushes the guys ahead of him? Because if that happens, then the team is winning. Like, that's a great situation to have. Parayko, Falk, and Kessel on the right side. Good. Problem solved. Now let's work on the left side and go from there. So that's where I look at it.
Jamie Rivers, Andrew Marsh, Anthony Stalter. It's the Fast Line on 101 ESPN. Blues Flyers pregame starting at 6 o'clock tonight. You can listen to all the coverage right here on your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN, the Blues Radio Network. How much trouble is Mike McCarthy in following yesterday's embarrassing loss to the Packers? That's next on 101 ESPN. Jamie, you apparently called the Packers win against the Cowboys on Friday.
Darn right I did.
I left the show a little early, but
I kind of called it at the beginning of the year, too.
you kind of did, Marsh. You're right. You said the Cowboys would get the number 1 seed. They got the number 2 seed. You were
the
close.
number 2 seed.
And they would lose in the playoffs.
Well, they do every year,
First
Anthony.
round.
Maybe
Yeah.
not last year, but
Wow. If you're Mike McCarthy, you're done.
oh yeah.
You're done.
How do you survive this?
You can't.
I mean,
It's not, first of all, it's not all his fault. But if you're Jerry Jones, you need a finisher at this point. You need a closer. You need somebody a la Bill Belichick
Oh, boy, there it is.
to come in
there it is.
knowing that you've got a roster that's good enough for the number 2 seed in the NFC this past year. But you have had a coaching staff that can't get it done, including Dan Quinn.
I was going to say, is this Mike McCarthy or is it Dan Quinn?
It's both.
Who performed worse?
Let's really unpack this, okay? At the start of the game, Matt LaFleur, and we'll get to him because, hello, thought it was all Aaron Rodgers, huh? Because he just turned Jordan Love into like a potential star quarterback.
That guy's pretty good, Anthony. I watched that game yesterday. That Jordan Love's pretty good.
Yeah. And he has been since the start of the second half. You saw the numbers, 18 touchdowns to 1 interception. He was awesome yesterday. But Matt LaFleur, what does he do? He takes the ball first.
Yeah.
He goes, we're going to start fast. Because when the opponent starts fast against the Cowboys can't react.
Somebody's got to set the
Well,
tone.
Cowboys were 10-0 when they scored first.
Bingo. They start fast. We play on their terms. We start fast. They play on ours. And that's exactly what happened. But I think that Mike McCarthy thought his defense was going to play much better.
They should have.
You could tell in the play calling. You could tell that, Joe Barry's going to take away the deep ball because that's what Joe Barry does. No big deal. We'll run the ball. We'll throw to CD Lamb. We're going to be fine. We're going to win this thing 37-10. But when they got behind by 7, and then they didn't do anything after the punt because they did force the Packers to punt. They didn't do anything. Then they throw the pick, and it's 14-0. And panic starts to set in a little bit. They never adjusted. Mike McCarthy, I think, had the wrong game plan. Dan Quinn did not move from his 6 DB defense, which did nothing. You had 6 defensive backs out there, and Romeo Doubs was like, I'll just go ahead and do whatever the hell I want. You had 6 DBs out there.
Well,
and guys were wide-ass open.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony. When you go with 6 DBs, too, I believe you're leaving yourself susceptible to the run.
Correct. And Aaron Jones ran it right down your throat.
Carved him
over
up.
and over.
Yeah, because you're lacking
again.
that size.
Yes. You traded speed.
Yeah.
You traded speed because you knew you had a bunch of, you had Jaden Reed, you had Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson was back. They had 2 tight ends, Kraft and Musgrove, who again, wide open. Somehow he was just, no problem, just throw it to me 40 yards downfield. But Dan Quinn never adjusted. Going back to his days in Atlanta, he never adjusted. So if you're the Seahawks, do you really want Dan Quinn as your head coach when you have to face Shanahan and McVay 4 times?
I think there's pause now. Even last night I sent you guys a text in the group chat. I'm like, are the Cowboys playing a man short on defense?
That was
felt like it.
Because
I sent you guys the LOL. I did literally laugh out loud on that one.
I couldn't believe the way these guys were getting so wide open. I'm like, they must be playing with a guy missing.
Yeah.
No chance he
felt
could be
like
that wide open.
So it's not just McCarthy.
No,
it's not just Prescott.
Do you think the Seahawks are pumping the brakes right now?
I would.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know. Let me walk with me here for a second, okay?
Interlocking
fingers.
For
Yeah.
sure, always. Always. It's the best way. The Cowboys go 12-5. Do you see an argument anywhere to where Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones has been very devoted to his head coaches. Who's the last guy there? I forget his name now.
Before Mike McCarthy?
Yeah. The guy who hung on for...
Jason Garrett.
Yeah, he hung on forever. He should have been fired 8 times.
Yeah.
He hung on forever.
He's hanging on with NBC. A lot of texters actually texting in.
Yeah.
Don't like him on the broadcast.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either.
But Jerry Jones has been devoted to at least Jason Garrett for a long time. Mm-hmm. Is there any way that Mike McCarthy survives this to where he sits down and, like, maybe Dan Quinn goes? Maybe they fire Dan Quinn and say, we had the right game plan offensively, but we couldn't catch up because they were scoring at such a rapid clip.
Right.
Any world at all?
I think if you're Mike McCarthy and you're trying to hold on to your job, you could very easily say, this is your fault, Dan. Found the problem. We're good.
Jerry, I fired Dan.
Yeah. Don't worry. We'll get back to work here. We'll get you a new DC. No, I think he's
all
done.
right.
I think Jerry Jones is going to look at the situation knowing that he's got Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel just sitting out there.
Bill Belichick does not seem like a good fit in Dallas. It'd be fun to see. I think Jerry needs Bill more than Bill needs Jerry. You think Bill Belichick is going to go into that fiasco?
That's a great setup for him. Are you kidding me? That defense is legit, and he already has the quarterback. You may not like Dak Prescott, but it's not Bailey Zappi.
Yeah,
right.
Or
But he's
Bailey Zappi Light and Mac Jones.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's dealing with Jerry Jones, though.
He is.
Hey, Robert Kraft.
Yeah,
That's
true.
fair.
That's true.
That's
I'm just
fair.
saying.
I don't think that Bill Belichick, though, he's not going to be somebody that's going to go in there and like, it'll all work out. Like, he's going to tell Jerry Jones, look, this is you own the team, but you haven't won in a long time because you haven't let somebody run it. Let me run it. I don't think Bill Belichick takes that job unless he's got full commitment that Jerry Jones is going to stay out. Or else why not go to Atlanta where he knows Arthur Blank is going to stay out of it because he's just so desperate to win something.
You let Arthur Smith have the keys to the building.
Yeah, you let that numbnut take over. You're
Home
not going to let
Depot
Bill
must have got a
Belichick.
discount on FedEx, I'm sure.
That's probably why he hired him.
Home Depot's home of shipping with FedEx.
I know we're talking about the coaching
For those
situation.
who don't know, Arthur Smith's dad's the founder
of FedEx.
Yeah, FedEx.
Yeah.
We're talking about the coaching situation, and we're not talking enough about Dak Prescott not being good.
He wasn't good.
He wasn't good.
Another 2 interceptions.
And that was the difference in the game. Possession in that first one with Jair Alexander. Some people think that, oh, no, he was grabbing onto him.
Oh,
whatever.
Stop. He had just as much right to the football.
And then, of course, the pick six that we came back into the segment with. That was the difference in the game.
He hit him like he was the DB was the design route runner.
He thought he had a Cowboys jersey.
He did. He hit him in stride.
Dak Prescott thought he was actually Jordan Love with how open Darnell Savage was.
Right. I mean, Dak Prescott is who he is, right? Like, this is the best version of Dak Prescott. I don't think there's any question. But then you get to the playoffs when teams are going to make some adjustments on you. Can you counter? Dallas was throwing vertically all season long. They had to know that Joe Barry don't play anything else. He plays that umbrella defense. He's not going to give you the big chunk play. You're going to have to go death by 1,000 cuts. And Dallas never adjusted. So it's Mike McCarthy's game plan. It's Dan Quinn's awful day. And Dak Prescott wasn't good enough. But Jordan Love was significantly better than Dak Prescott. LaFleur was significantly better than Mike McCarthy. Joe Barry was significantly better than Dan Quinn. You lost in all phases yesterday. That's a young Green Bay defense that took it to you.
Yeah, their running game was not that great either. I know Tony Pollard had a touchdown, but he only had 56 yards rushing.
Yeah,
Dak Prescott almost had more rushing yards than he did.
Oh, yeah. I just think it's weird that it imploded as bad as it did. I did not expect to see Green Bay dominate the game that way. I expected it would be, for me, what I said on Friday was like that it would be just close enough at the end to kick a field goal and win.
Right.
Not come out, kicked him in the teeth, and never look back. Like, seriously.
Once
that game was over before it began.
Yeah, and the pick six was did the pick six make it 20-0, or was it 26? Okay,
20-0.
Because they were driving. They were down 14. That was their moment. If they were going to get back in the game, that was their moment. And homeboy throws a pick six.
I mean, right to the numbers, perfect spiral, right to.
Well, you know what? Also, at the end of the first half, they're lucky that they got a penalty that allowed them to
score to get a little momentum.
Because CeeDee Lamb did not make it into the end zone, and they did not have any timeouts left.
You're right.
That would have been the end of the half.
So the only matchup that we know is set for the divisional round is the 49ers-Packers matchup. Now, Marsh, you said you wouldn't be shocked if the Packers went into Santa Clara and beat them.
I wouldn't be shocked. Now, do I want them to win? No, this was a tough weekend for me. I had to root against the Cowboys with a team that I don't like in the Packers. And then, of course, the Lions win. I don't like the Lions either. They're in NFC North, but I also don't like the Rams for obvious reasons. It was a tough weekend for me.
So you were rooting for the Chiefs in the cold, and that was it.
I'm not even sure if I was rooting for the Chiefs.
Whoa, why not?
Because I'm not a Chiefs fan.
Well, you got to root for somebody.
I'm rooting for good games and entertainment, and this weekend provided that.
Hey, Marshy, you're welcome over here.
Well, I'm not going over there.
You're welcome with the Lions.
I'm not doing that. You talked about earlier, if you weren't rooting for the Lions, you didn't have a pulse.
Correct.
I was half dead last night, gentlemen. I was half dead.
So you're just watching the game.
I'm just watching the game. I'm looking for entertainment.
That game did not hit you.
Marshy,
That game did not hit you in the feels at all.
No, I mean, looking after the fact.
Me too.
Looking after the fact and watching the post game, like that was a cool moment for Lions fans, and that's great. Like I love that for them. They haven't won anything in God knows how long, so great. So good for them. The Cowboys, I loved watching them lose. I loved it. But to what you were about to say is I could see the Packers defeating San Francisco. I love storylines and the fact that Jordan Love could go into San Francisco and beat a team that Aaron Rodgers could not. That intrigues me.
Thank you, by the way. I'm glad you brought this up.
Brett Favre, by the way, I don't think he could really beat the Cowboys at the time either.
No, he had trouble.
And Jordan Love just did that.
Here's the thing, too.
Sound like a Packers fan over there.
Yeah. Everybody.
I feel nasty right now talking about
defending him. Everybody that was all like LaFleur, Love, all that stuff in the offseason. Look, I admitted how wrong I was in the Lions. I broke down the details of what I was wrong last hour, okay? You can check it out on the podcast. One thing I got right was Jordan Love being a lot better than what people were giving him credit for. And LaFleur deserves a lot of credit, too, because everybody said, he's nothing without Rodgers. Really? How many people, too, were like, they didn't give him any receivers? Well, I don't know. Dobbs looked pretty good yesterday. Now he's a rookie, isn't? No, Reed is the rookie.
Yeah, Jaden Reed. They have a ton of first and second year.
Wicks scored again. 2 tight ends. I mean,
yeah,
it's
who are
not
these guys, you know?
It's not like it's not like Jordan Love had Devontae Adams.
Right. And Christian Watson's out too.
Watson was, he played yesterday, but he was barely noticeable. Right. Jordan Love made it work with what he had.
I think the key for them, though, is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, if he's healthy and he's running like he did yesterday, they have a chance. Because when he's not healthy, it's a completely different team.
I agree. 3:30 today, Steelers, Bills. 7:15 tonight, Eagles, Bucs. We've got 2 more wild card games as the Steelers-Bills game was moved yesterday due to the weather. Are we witnessing the ceiling of this version of the Blues? Well, let's hope not. Or is that a good thing? We'll talk about it next on 101 ESPN.
Paying too much right now for your ED meds? Quit doing that. Head over to the medicine shop in St. Charles. They are the destination for cheap ED meds. They've got a generic called Sildenafil. For less than $2 a pill, prescription is required. And you also don't have to live close to the medicine shop in St. Charles to cash in on some of the savings, as well as the free, discreet shipping and delivery to your home or your workplace. That's for any medicines that you take on a regular basis that maybe you can't get to the pharmacy, it's a busy week, a busy month, kids have got after-school activities, don't worry about getting to the pharmacy. The pharmacy will get to you. The Medicine Shop in St. Charles does a great job of taking care of everybody that way. They also do an unbelievable job of finding out what you need when you visit them. So stop by the pharmacy. Please tell them that Jamie Rivers sent you in. They love hearing that, and they're going to answer all your questions. They're going to make sure that you're taken care of properly before you leave their facility. So please, again, drop by there, say hi, or visit them online. And that website is stcharles.pharmacy. That's stcharles.pharmacy.
When Marsh posed this question, are we witnessing the ceiling of this version of the Blues? I hope not. That was my first response. But maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because if the power play does start to click like we talked about at the start of the show, if this power play does turn into maybe even a strength in the second half, that this team is good enough to do exactly what we thought it would do, which would be make the playoffs. Based on the matchup, maybe even make a little noise in the first round. But when you see that question, are we witnessing the ceiling of this version of the Blues? Do you think that could be a negative connotation?
I don't know if it's a negative thing, but for me, this can't be the ceiling. It can't be. And for a number of reasons, too, because you've now just introduced two young defensemen into the fray, what looks to be like on a full-time basis right now. So if this is the ceiling, is that what you're capping those players right now, what they are?
Right.
It can't be.
Right.
Kessel has to continue to develop and contribute, and Perunovich has to continue to do the exact same thing as well, continue to trend upward. So obviously the ceiling should be higher for this group. I think the way the questions posed was more gearing towards the fact like, hey, is this the kind of team that we expected? And if so, are we okay with that? I think that's really the way that was kind of meant to be worded or referenced in this point. And I think I'm okay with it. I believe that this is a playoff team. Now, the way it sits right now, the Blues find themselves 3 points out of a playoff spot. And the Oilers have just been, 10 in a row now they've won. The Nashville Predators don't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. The Seattle Kraken are playing good. So it's going to be a tough go here for the Blues to keep pace and to gain ground on some of these opponents. But, yeah, it can't be the ceiling, man. You've got to have more consistency from Jordan Kyrou. You have to continue to see Robert Thomas do what he's doing. Pavel Buchnevich, the same thing. Kevin Hayes played, I think, one of his best games yet as a Blue the other night against the Boston Bruins. You got to see more from him. Braden Shen playing in his 900th game tonight. I think if you ask Braden Shen, he would probably tell you that he'd like to have been contributing more offensively so far this season. So, yeah, if this is the ceiling, then we've undersold what these guys can actually do. So I don't think this is the ceiling, and I think you have to see this team continue to push and go. Otherwise, the playoffs are there's no hope of that happening.
Yeah. Do you think, too, you bring up a good point about the young players. Do you think that we always get messages, and we got one earlier today about Jordan Kyrou and his consistency, and why is he great one moment, and then the next moment you don't even see him? I think that's a lot of players, quite frankly. I mean, it's a long season. You get the ups and downs, especially whether it's baseball or basketball or hockey. Mm-hmm. But when you view guys like Kyrou and Thomas, do you also see still some untapped potential there as well?
Oh, absolutely. Robert Thomas, if you would have told me coming into this season that Robert Thomas could potentially evolve into a Selke Trophy candidate, I would have thought that you were sipping on Grandpa's cough syrup because I never had the thought that he could play as good defensively as he has been and play in those tough matchups the way Ryan O'Reilly did. Mm-hmm. We think of a defensive guy. We kind of have our guy, right? It's Ryan O'Reilly. That guy was the guy. Well, Robert Thomas is right there with him. When you take some of the analytics and the numbers and the time spent against the opposing team's top lines and things like that, so I did not anticipate that. And so for me, he's continuing to evolve into a really complete player, which is awesome to see. One thing that kind of bothers me a little bit about the Jordan Kyrou thing is, let's take another player. Not really a comparable, but pretty close. That player's William Nylander in Toronto. The biggest complaint that people had in Toronto about William Nylander is just inconsistent. Doesn't play a 200-foot game. All that stuff. And now Nylander has played in 9 years in the NHL. This is his 9th year. And he would, and Marcia, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but would you consider William Nylander to be a premier player in the National Hockey League?
Yes, and I think his contract extension would prove that.
$11.5 million per season over the next 8 years, I believe. Correct?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, Anthony, what's the highest goal total that William Nylander has ever had in the NHL? What do you think?
41.
40. What's the highest goal total Jordan Kyrou has had? 37.
37.
So when we talk about a comparable, this is kind of a comparable, yet everybody was banging the drum, and they were banging it hard, wanting William Nylander here via trade in the offseason. Mm-hmm. You have William Nylander. You do. He's a couple years away from being as consistent as William Nylander, and that's the one thing this season is finally Nylander has hit his peak because he's got 21 goals in 41 games, 57 points in 41 games. He's been a difference maker, but it's year 9. So when we get these texts saying, Jordan Kyrou, when are we going to get to consider? And he's not young anymore. He's 26. You're right. By standards of entering the league, he's not young. Standards of being in his prime, he's just at the entrance of it right now. Mm-hmm. So 2 years from now, can we expect Jordan Kyrou to get 40 goals again? Or next year? Yes, we should, because he was right there knocking at the door. So when you look at William Nylander, if you were really wanting him in the offseason, just watch 25. The capabilities are there for Jordan Kyrou to be the exact same player as William Nylander.
We tend to get impatient when it's players that we're watching day in and day out. And God forbid one of the young players around the league comes to town or we watch them on TV and they have a big game. Because then we tend to look at it, and I'm talking about we as fans, we tend to look at it as, well, we don't have him. I hate it. Worst team ever. Like we have no perspective as sports fans because of the way it's set up. We're not watching that same player that we think is a god when it comes to St. Louis, night in and night out. Not seeing the ups and downs. Not seeing when their star player, it seemingly has disappeared for a night. Like we don't. We lose all perspective and our minds.
Well, the Maple Leafs players.
That's where Maker's Mark
It
comes
sure
in.
does.
Where can you get that?
Oh, dirt cheap.
No doubt.
Try Snow Day, now available.
Speaking of the Leafs, their head coach, that team played so bad, their head coach came out and said that the Colorado first line with McKinnon and then you have Makar and Taves on the back end, that they are not even in the NHL. They're in a completely different league. That's how good or how bad they made Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and all those guys look.
Can you imagine? Right. You have two of the best players, three with Nylander now, three of the best players in the league. And you're basically saying, it's nothing, man. See what they got over there? Like, that coach, like Sheldon Keefe, man, check yourself a little bit.
The grass is always greener.
But those teams have been bad before, and that's why they acquired all of this talent. The Blues have not been in that situation. Let's not forget, Jordan Kyrie's not even a first-round draft pick.
No, you're right. William Nylander was top 5 pick, I believe, by the Leafs. Could be wrong, top 10 for sure. And so let's just advance this a little bit because this turned into the Kyrou conversation, which is fine because he's polarizing like that. Yeah. And I'm always open for the discussion. I see him play every night. I see him play every single night. I know when he's not playing to his ability. I know where he's lacking. Everybody, like the coaching staff knows it. The key here is what you try and do is imagine that it's a scale, the old school legal scale, where you put some weight on one side and pulls it.
Balancing scale.
The balancing scale, right?
Checks and balances.
So right now you've got a scale that's really heavy to the offensive potential and speed, and you just keep adding little weights to the other side, hoping that you can pull it up. And the key with Jordan Kyrou is at some point in his career, in the next year or two, you want that scale to be so close it almost looks even. But let me tell you, I'm going to let you in on a dirty little secret, Anthony.
Ooh.
Not that one, the other one.
Oh. I was about to say, you already told us that one.
If you're the St. Louis Blues, you don't ever want that scale to be even. You never want it to be even. You know why?
Why?
He's a damn dynamic goal scorer. Get on there, play offense. Give me the defense when the team requires it. But apart from that, if that scale is even, that means Jordan Kyrou is not necessarily maximizing his best ability, which is scoring. So when I look at all the best offensive players I played with, against, and even in the NHL now, the scale is tilted just enough to where they're still dynamic offensively, but they don't hurt you defensively.
Yeah.
So that's their dirty little secret is nobody in the organization really ever wants that scale to be even.
Sure. So again, Marsh, what Jamie just said is he needs that O and a little bit of D from Jordan Kyrou.
You got to love it.
Yeah, just a little.
That's what you said, right?
100%, Anthony. Well said.
Let's also not forget that the Blues are playing one of the toughest stretches of hockey right now.
Oh, get out of here,
and
Marsh.
That there are other players on the other team that are also really freaking good.
But here's the thing, though, Marsh. Here's the thing. The Blues players, and I need you to listen to this.
I'm listening.
The Blues players are being paid, okay?
Oh, God, you're that guy? Okay, good. I'm glad you brought that up. So hold on. The Blues players are being paid. So Thomas and Kyrou are being paid $8 million a year, right? Right?
Right.
Okay, so we all feel right now that, Robert Thomas, he's worth every penny of that. Now, let's fast forward. Let's go back to the guy I talked about to start this conversation, William Nylander. He's making $11.5 million over the next 8 years. $11.5 million per season.
Right.
If 2 years from now, his numbers, or 3 years from now, his numbers are equal or within 5 points of Jordan Kyrou, one way or the other, how good does $8 million look now?
Really good.
Well, William Nylander, he just sucks.
My point is, though,
How good will it look, Anthony? Just answer the damn question.
That was the joke, though, because the opponents are being paid, too. That's why I said the Blues were getting paid.
I like your joke.
Fish on. Fish on.
Yeah, I'm all fired up right now.
So the Blues interim coach, they're starting over with Bannister, and then who knows if he winds up if he gets the full-time gig and they go someplace else. We're seeing a lot of different NFL teams have to rebuild now with new coaches, even in the college ranks. Does a rebuild start with the head coach, the players, or both? What do you got? Can you read it or no?
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. Texts in. Says, Marsh, tell him about the injuries.
Well, if William Nylander gets injured in 3 years and his point production is not as good as Jordan Kyrou, how will it look then?
Good call, Marsh.
So fun.
All right. Does a rebuild start with the head coach, the players, or both? We'll answer that next on 101 ESPN.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. We just got done talking about your St. Louis Blues. They did lose over the weekend in overtime to the Boston Bruins, but they are back in action tonight taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. Pregame starts at 6. Puck drop is at 7, and you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. Over the weekend, the Texans defeated the Browns. The Chiefs beat the Dolphins. The Packers beat up on the Cowboys, and the Lions won a close one in Detroit over the Los Angeles Rams. The Bills are hosting the Steelers. That is about to start. Actually, it already has. So Steelers trying to take down the Bills, and then tonight the Buccaneers are going up against the Eagles. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
You look at me like, what the why are we going live? I got it. Here's what I need, man. I need you to trust me. I swear to God, I'm not a lunatic. I swear to you. And if I absolutely knew we could get to where we need to get without ever putting pads on, I'd do it. I swear to you. But also for us as a team to get better. Defensively, what is the essence of what we do, man? What are the two things? Pursuit and tackle. Pursuit and tackle. Man, if you don't work on tackling, if we don't work on run after catch, making a move, man, what are we doing, man? Then we finally get to week 8 and we come to life because we got enough reps. That's what I'm doing, and I swear, man, I don't want to put anybody in jeopardy, but we have to do it, man. I believe it. We're not going to do it every day. I'm going to give you an illustration tonight. Man, I got a plan, I swear to you. All I think about is you guys. That's all I think about, man. That's all I think about is you guys and how I set you up for the best possible advantage I can give you to have a season. I swear to you, man. I just need you to trust me. That's all.
That is Jamie Rivers' personal hero, Dan Campbell. Dude. How do you not want to run through a wall for that dude?
Dan Campbell may not know anything about hockey. I would love to play for him.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have joked about this a little bit. Like, it's gotten to be kind of a thing. But it's real. Mm-hmm. You got a guy, and the context of that, by the way, was in training camp. I was his very first camp when he took over. It was super hot outside, and apparently some of the guys were complaining about being in full pads and whatnot. Yeah. And in the video that accompanies that, Dan Campbell's drenched in sweat as he's doing it, and he's just pleading with them to trust him.
Yeah.
Trust me, I got you. I don't care about me, I care about you guys. That message has never changed. Mm-hmm. It's never changed. Yesterday in his post-game speech, he talks about loving the guys. And then his first game ball goes to the general manager for believing in him and putting that team together. And the general manager and the head coach are hugging it out, telling grown men saying, I love you.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not lay it on the line for this guy if you're a player? There's no way you can go back to that room, look your teammates in the eyes, and look your coach in the eyes. The guy that you know goes without sleep, he has 47 coffees a day. That's an exaggeration, but he talked about having like 7 or something like
in like one drink. He's got a massive drink that just
so he can be dialed in the whole time. So Dan Campbell is the Detroit Lions right now. The Detroit Lions, like everything that's about this team encompasses the city, the fan base, Dan Campbell, like those players are wearing it, man. Like in a like a badge of honor. He's the right guy for the job in that situation.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I was wrong. I was right and wrong about him. I was wrong about him a year ago in terms of whether or not he was going, like all of this was going to pan out. I was right in that some of the in-game decision-making, you needed that. It can't just be about, your players love you. There's a lot of head coaches in a lot of sports that are beloved that didn't make it because they didn't have some of the technical stuff ironed out. Well, he's ironed out the technical stuff. He knows what it takes to close out a game. He knows when to go for it. He knows when he's got to make a certain call. We talked about this earlier. Ben Johnson's play, Dan Campbell's decision. Dan Campbell's decision was to throw the ball in that situation last night when a first down wins it. It was Ben Johnson's play call, but it's up to Campbell to say, hey, be aggressive on this play or run the damn ball. We'll give them basically nothing and we'll let the defense sort it out. That's his call. So when we have a conversation about does a rebuild start with the head coach, the players, or both, it starts with the head coach. It starts with the head coach and the GM having not being on the same page, but being aligned.
Yeah.
One vision. But the head coach is in front of it. Dan Campbell is, like you said, he's the Lions now. He has to be in front of it. Then the GM can get players that match his head coach's persona, what the head coach wants out of his team. Or conversely, get rid of the guys that don't fit. Mm-hmm. That's the GM having to be aligned with the head coach. But correct me if I'm wrong on this. Like ownership, obviously, it starts with the owner and works on down because crap rolls downhill. But when it comes to whether it's the head coach, the players, it starts with the head coach, in my opinion.
Yes. So, a couple things. Before I get into what you just asked me, it just jarred my memory earlier when we talked about Dan Campbell and going for it and 2nd and 9 and the fourth down stuff. I was watching a local Detroit news station because I follow all these things on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And everybody following that decision to go for the 2-point conversion over and over and over again. We all thought Dan Campbell got a little loopy there at the end. Yeah. Probably should have just kicked the single point after 2 times having it go south, whatever.
Right.
So I forget what player was being interviewed. I wish I could remember. But he said, we let him down. So we let the coach down. We wanted to go for the victory. He had our backs, and we let him down. We didn't execute. That's the mentality. They weren't like, coach should have kicked the extra point.
Yeah.
We let him down.
Right.
And so that's why it's relevant to your point now. Fast forward to finding the head coach. Mm-hmm. I agree. For me, though, it starts with ownership. It does. It's just like any business that you have in the world that's owned by an individual or a group of individuals, it has to be the right individuals. And it's not that they have to be the smartest guy in the room at all times. They have to be smart enough to hire the people who are the smartest person in the room for their position. Mm-hmm. If you're following me on this.
Yes, I do.
It's hiring the right general manager for this team, for what we want to accomplish, and then trusting the general manager to find the right head coach to realize the vision that he has and that we have as a team. And then the coach to find the players that he needs, that are necessary to do what he wants to accomplish, what kind of team he wants to build. Mm-hmm. And it's it's a trust factor from the top to the next tier to the next tier, all the way down to the water boy. I know it sounds crazy, but I can tell you this, the Detroit Red Wings, when I was there, right down to the finest detail, it was all under the umbrella. Somebody was in charge of overseeing every single thing along the way, and all of them were trusted by their superiors and ultimately by the ownership at the end of the day. So for me, it starts with the ownership being smart enough to realize that, again, they're not the smartest person in the room. Find somebody who is, or find somebody who's smarter than you at least.
Yeah.
And then from there, when you hired the head coach, this has been historic for the Lions franchise. Historic, because people in other sports are tweeting and commenting about, like me saying, I'd like to play for this guy. It's eye-opening to see what a guy like Dan Campbell has been able to do when everybody made fun of him, including us. We made fun of him.
Yeah.
I was in this very room the day he talked about biting kneecaps, and when you knock us down, we're going to bite the other kneecap off. Right. I was like, this guy's, he'll be gone in a week.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
I was so wrong. And what he did is he found the players that listened to that and said, you're right. We're just going to keep fighting, because they were terrible to start.
He changed the entire culture. Yeah, they were 0-7 or something. Yeah.
Terrible, Anthony. Mm-hmm. And now they just won the division, won their first playoff game in 32 years.
Well, they listened. They believed in him. Kind of reminds me, he makes me want to be like a better parent. You know, when you got kids and you're going over the same stuff over and over and over again. At some point, you do want to just say to them, just trust me on this. Mm-hmm. I've got a vision, right? But if you don't illustrate that, then the kid's just going to look at you and be like, yeah, okay, well, we'll see if I pick up that toy later. For him, saying, trust me on this, here's your why. Here's your why. This is what we're doing. You're not going to see it right now, but you just trust me on this. You also have to be right. You have to be trustworthy. He is. Good for the Lions. Good for Dan Campbell. It's not just a fun story anymore. He's building something. Mm-hmm. It's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. All right, Jamie's keys to victory and first goal of the game for the Flyers Blues tonight on 101 ESPN. We'll get to that next.
looking to accessorize your vehicle right now, whether it's a brand new vehicle or it's an older vehicle, that's what I would suggest you head over to Pure Performance. They are the best in the business. They've got all of your aftermarket accessories. They've got the fender flares, lighting kits, side steps, Nerf bars. You got everything that you're wanting. Lift kit, leveling kit, the oversized tires. They've got computer chips. You name it, they're going to take care of you, and it's for any vehicle. Any vehicle at all that you have, and if you have a Jeep or a Bronco, man, they have so much available for you. And it's all located in St. Peter's, right off of Highway 70, a 25,000 square foot facility with all of the toys that you can imagine. But just do me a favor. When you walk in, please ask for Shelby. She's the sheriff over there. She runs everything. And when you see Shelby, tell her Jamie Rivers sent you in. She's going to ask you what kind of vehicle you're driving, what you're trying to do, what your budget is, what your expectations are, all of that stuff. And then she's going to point you in the right direction and then ultimately hand you off to the technicians who are the best in the business. And they're going to take your vehicle. And when you get your vehicle back, you will be blown away with how amazing it looks. Again, that's my friends over at Pure Performance. Get in there and say hi. But if not, at least get there online and check things out at pureperformance.com. That's pure, P-U-R, performance.com.
Blues and Flyers tonight. Pregame starting at 6 o'clock. Jamie Rivers is going to get out of here after this segment, head downtown for a little Bally Sportsman West TV work. But before he does, here are his 750 keys to victory.
No, not so many tonight, Anthony. You demanded so many of me the other night that
I just know what you're capable of.
They all paid off, though, apparently. Right?
They did. Darn right.
They were listening. I know the guys are in their cars right now on their way downtown listening. They know.
Oh, sure.
Otherwise, they have no idea what the game plan is until they hear us talk about it.
Right.
Well, maybe they do.
They get to the locker room, and Drew Bannister's like, listen, if you didn't hear Jamie's keys to victory, I don't know what to tell you. Let's go.
Well, they can go check it out on the podcast.
They could. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers.
All right, so tonight I want the Blues to do something a little different than the other night. I'd like them to play with the lead. I'd like them to play with the lead. Get on the board first. Get a good start here. This Philadelphia Flyers team, they're a hard-working team. They're gritty. They're physical. It's a tough matchup. Everybody this year thought Philadelphia was going to be a cakewalk. They were going to rebuild. They're getting rid of everybody. Not the case. John Tortorella has found a way, just like Dan Campbell, to galvanize this group and make them believe that there's something that maybe they're not. So you got to get the puck in deep, get to work. You have to continue to get bodies to the net tonight. It's going to be tough. It's going to be physical. You're going to have to make sure you do that. Capitalize on your power play. Keep this thing going. Keep the power play scoring some goals out here and manage the puck. The one thing that the Blues can still do a much better job at, and you hear Drew Bannister talking about playing a more direct game. All that is the same as we've been talking about playing north. Move the puck forward. Be direct in what you're doing. And at times, I think when the opposition defends well or the opposition are playing better, we veer off the course. And the Blues go sideways with the puck a lot, which is not the recipe for success. So, make sure you continue to develop the game in a very direct manner. So those would be my keys to the game.
All right. Marcia, you ready?
I think so.
Let's do it.
Let's go, boys.
We need you to score more goals.
Get those loose pucks.
Thomas to Cairo. Score! Goal!
No big deal. Game winner.
The Steelers and Bills have kicked, and Mason Rudolph has made 2 passes on third downs that I think he was going for one of the coaches on the sideline or one of the fans in the stands with both throws. Not a great start for the Steelers, who are trailing 7-0.
Anthony, I need to clear up a debate that's going on in the snake pit right now.
What's going on?
A lot of people in the snake pit are wondering if my tie is the appropriate length.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it is.
Yeah, you're good.
It's just right at the top of the belt buckle. I mean, I don't know how far we have to step back.
Yeah, you're solid. Oh, you're good.
It blends in with the darkness of the pants, so I think it looks a lot longer than it is.
Yeah. It's never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing. So hopefully the snake pit now can move on with their day because they're very concerned about
worried.
The
Yeah, no, I can confirm.
They're all about the length in the snake pit.
Of course they are.
I can confirm that it's just right.
Nice. All right, first goal of the game. Jamie still got that 2-1-1-1 lead on everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Jamie, Marshy.
Jamie, who's your pick?
All right, tonight, first goal of the game. Blues captain Braden Shen in his 900th game.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah.
Little narrative-driven, Marshy style.
Yeah. Let's go, baby.
I'm going to go Robert Thomas.
Say it right.
I'm going to go Robert the Thomas.
There we go. Nice. Were you upset that Jamie went with the narrative goal?
No. I'm trying to win here, Anthony.
Not a care in the world.
Not a care in the world.
Okay.
If Braden Shen scores, that's great.
Yeah.
Jamie will get a point, and he'll build some momentum moving forward. It's a win-win for everybody.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to go with Kevin Hayes.
Yeah.
Kevin Hayes against his former team tonight.
Poor guy got robbed the other night.
Yeah,
just a millimeter offside. That sucks, man, when they do that. And the problem is, as soon as they call that offside, or as soon as they call the challenge, it's over. Because the video guys are on it, and they're not buzzing down to the coach. It's not a goalie interference where there's a debate. It's like, hey, by the way, that was offside.
Right.
Challenge that. The referee came over to me, because the one referee is told about the challenge. The other referee usually comes over to me and looks at the replay, because the linesmen are the ones that are handling the actual call on the ice.
Yeah.
He comes over, and I'm looking at it, and we make eye contact, and he shakes his head. He's like, that's no goal. I'm like, you're right.
Did you?
I can confirm.
Did you shake your head at him when they missed that tripping call in overtime?
No, they were gone. Those refs drop ninja bombs. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you ever watch a movie where there's ninjas and they drop the little and they're gone?
Yeah.
You're like, what happened, right? That was the referees the other night. The game was over. The Blues bench was not leaving. They were irate, to say the least. But the refs were like, sorry, folks, park's closed. Moose outside. Should have told you. We're out of here. And they ducked, which I don't blame them.
Right.
What are they going to do? Go back and say, just kidding.
Yeah.
We missed a call. Boston, come back out here.
No.
It's the whole hand pass thing over again.
Right.
And I thought that Drew Bannister handled that very well following the game. He addressed it by not addressing it. He addressed it by saying, we understand, but I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
And he also said, I'm smart enough to know what you can and cannot talk about.
Right.
He may not have the pockets yet
Yeah,
of
to
a
start
full-time
saying
NHL
things.
coach to be like, here's 10 grand because I
Right.
criticized the officials.
Yeah, no thanks.
What do you think's going through the linesman head? Obviously, the linesman can't make a call, but the guy's looking right at it. Do you think he's looking at the ref and being like, man, you
For
really
sure.
missed that
you
one?
go back there. It's just like anything else. Like, if you're my defense partner, I'm not going to tell you in the moment, although sometimes maybe. But if you make a pass, it's like clearly like guy picks off and scores. I'm going to be like, you can't do that. Like, you can't make that play.
Right.
You can't make that play. So if the referee go back to the room like, hey, by the way, man, I mean, that was a call. That was a call. And they have to deal with it because the whole crew is evaluated every night by the NHL. They have emails that go back and forth. They have video clips that are submitted. Like, the NHL, contrary to what people think, they actually do put a lot of thought and they do care about the officiating. They don't ultimately have full control over the calls in the moment, but they do try to maintain a certain level of consistency.
Jamie Rivers, Andrew Marsh, Anthony Stalter, Fastline on 101 ESPN. We do need a Gauntlet contestant, new Gauntlet contestant. So you can text in to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, the word Gauntlet, and you might have an opportunity to take on either Andrew Marsh or me coming up. Jamie, have a great call tonight.
Thank you very much.
By the way, do you have a pick?
Oh, yeah, I will by the time, let's see here. This will be simple. I've been all over the NHL here.
Yes, you have. I don't know if your Canucks play this afternoon or tonight.
They did. And they lost, so good thing I didn't pick them.
You didn't pick them.
Yeah, no, let's see here. I'm going to go, well, all of a sudden they don't have the odds in this thing.
Well,
Right.
You'll take some time. You'll tell us who it is.
I'll figure it out before I leave.
Yeah, so we'll have Jamie's bet the board pick coming up. Yes. All right, Dan McLaughlin is stepping in for the final 2 hours of the show. We'll have the Gauntlet next in the Fast Lane. Jamie Rivers, Anthony Stalter, our guy Stewie is on the line. And Stewie, we've missed you the last couple of weeks. We come to understand that this is a special day. Why is that?
Well, other than the fact that it's Martin Luther King Day, which we have to respect and honor, it's also National Bagel Day. How do you like that? National Bagel Day.
I'm hungry too, Stewie.
Hungry for loans.
That's right. So bagel loan, if you're going to borrow more than $200,000, no closing costs, same or better rates, quick close, 12 days. Take advantage of the opportunity while you can right now. Now, this is very important at the moment. Rates have dropped. If you bought a house or got a loan in the last 12 months, chances are good you can refinance, save 0.25%, 0.5% on the rate. If you go to other lenders, you got to pay all kinds of money. It's not worth it to do it for 0.25%. With the bagel loan, no cost. You recognize immediate savings, and you're ahead of the game. And you know what? If rates go down in the future, what can they do, guys, again?
Always refi.
Refi again. As long as it doesn't cost you anything, it's always the way to go. So celebrate National Bagel Loan Day. Save yourself some money. Get the loan of your dreams now, the house of your dreams now. We can make it happen for you.
Yeah, and all you have to do is call Stewie. or text them at 314-324-4440.
Again, 314-324-4440.
Stewie's our guy. He needs to be your guy. Give him a call. He's going to take care of everybody. And, Anthony, if they can't remember the number, what can they do?
Well, you can always remember the bagel, right? He's talking about the bagel? Bagel loan. That's right, exactly. Stewie, good to talk to you again.
Have a great day, guys.
NMLS number 226715.
Warriors, 4 categories, 1 challenger. Can you master the Gauntlet?
Brought to you by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit masstour.com.
With Dan McLaughlin filling in for Jamie Rivers the next 2 hours. What's up, Dan?
Hey, what's going on?
Everything good?
Everything's great. A little chilly outside. Sports office, by the way, is freezing.
Yeah, it's the same. For those that don't know, not that you really care.
No, you don't.
It's the same weather, same amount of freezingness outside as it is in our office.
You getting along with this cold, boys? You guys doing all right?
Doing okay for now.
Yeah. Need a break.
Yeah, a little bit of a break.
We've had a pretty mild winter, though.
We have. Yeah,
so
we've been fortunate.
We were ready to get hit with something, so no big deal. We can get through this.
Let's get hit by Ryan here in the Gauntlet. How about that?
Let's do it.
What's up, Ryan?
Not much. How are you?
Doing great. We appreciate you listening. Thanks for playing today. Would you like to take on Andrew Marsh or me today in the Gauntlet?
I think I will take on you today, Anthony.
All right. Well, Ryan, good luck to you, my man.
You know it's coming.
Hockey.
You bet.
All day long. Good luck, Ryan.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Ryan, before we get started, let's go over the rules real quick. You get 4 questions. If you get the question right without using the options, you get 2 points. If you need to use the options and you get it correct, you get 1. And, of course, if you miss it, you get 0. All right, tell me to spin the wheel. We'll get it going.
Spin that wheel, Marshy.
Ryan, what are you looking for today? We know Anthony always spins on hockey. Do you want hockey?
Hockey would be my preference.
Well, it barely spun hockey, of course, so hockey is the category today.
Is it really?
All right.
There it is, Dan. You see it.
I do see it.
Look how close it was.
I know it. That's awesome. Anthony is a guru, though. He's been very good lately.
He has been very good.
Ever since he got Davis Payne. Remember that about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
he got Davis Payne.
Somewhat been on a roll, so this won't be an easy matchup, Ryan.
I'm Anthony's. I'm going to be the size of the swimming pool and knock Anthony out in this one.
Love it.
Wow. Okay.
Love it.
All right, let's get it going. Question number 1. Before coaching the Lightning for 7 seasons, John Tortorella's first stint as a head coach was a 4-game tenure with which team?
Oh, I'm going to need the options for that.
Options are the Vancouver Canucks, the New York Rangers, or the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I'm going to go with Vancouver. I think he was in Columbus way longer than 4 games. Vancouver.
Final answer?
That's my final answer.
Question 2. Name both teams the Penguins defeated in the Stanley Cup Finals in 2016 and 17 when they won back-to-back Stanley Cups.
Oh, jeez. Who did they beat? Can we do the options again?
Is it the Sharks and Predators, or the Sharks and Kings, or the Predators and Kings?
Sharks and Predators.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Question 3, please.
Question number 3. Who was the last Blue to score a shorthanded goal?
Robert Thomas.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Question 4. Which team currently leads the National Hockey League in power play percentage with a 30% power play?
Got to be somebody that's having a good season. Let's go Vancouver Canucks.
Final answer?
Final answer.
All right, let's bring Anthony back in here if he can see us.
Want me to go get him?
You might have to.
He's probably locked into the football game.
He's coming back. He's coming back. How you feeling, Ryan?
Not as good as I was before.
All right. Well, we'll see if Anthony can do well today.
Guess what you got, Anthony?
In hockey.
Are you serious?
I'm being dead serious.
That's incredible. I can't even be surprised anymore.
Anthony, pack a lunch.
Okay.
Here we go. Question number 1. Before coaching the Lightning for 7 seasons, John Tortorella's first stint as a head coach was a 4-game tenure with which team?
Rangers. Final answer.
Wow. Question 2. Name both teams the Penguins defeated in the Stanley Cup Finals in 2016 and 17 when they won back-to-back Stanley Cups.
The 2 teams that they beat, you say?
That's correct.
I believe one was the Predators because of how annoying Nashville was during that time. I don't remember the other one. Can I have the options, please?
Would it be the Sharks and Predators, the Sharks and Kings, or the Predators and Kings?
Oh, wow. I know the Kings one, but that was like in 14? What are my options? You said Sharks, Preds, Kings, Preds, and who?
Sharks and Kings.
No, wasn't that? We can eliminate that. So Sharks, Preds, Kings. I think the Kings won like in 13 or 14 when they were the last seed. So I'm going to say Sharks. I don't remember it, but Sharks and Predators. Final answer.
Question 3, please.
Question number 3. Who was the last Blue to score a shorthanded goal?
Oh, wow.
Joe Morgan.
Joe Morgan. I don't know, but I'm not going to ask for the options because I know the roster. Or do I narrow it down? Let's narrow it down, please.
Options are Robert Thomas, or known as Robert the Thomas.
Robert the Thomas.
Alexei Toropchenko, or Oscar Sundqvist.
Let's go with Robert the Thomas, please. Final answer.
Okay. Question 4. Which team currently leads the NHL in power play percentage with a 30% power play?
Well, Jamie all last week, or at least the days leading up to the game, was talking about how great the Rangers were on the power play. I don't know if they're leading, but Jamie really made it a point to talk about the Rangers. Or would they be two answers? That would be the Rangers. Because I know Torts is the first one. I'm just going to go Rangers. Final answer.
All right, Marshy.
Let's go over these questions. Anthony going up against Ryan. We'll start with question number 2. Question number 2. Name both teams the Penguins defeated in the Stanley Cup final in 2016 and 2017 when they won back-to-back Stanley Cups. You guys both took the options. You both went with Anthony's Sharks and the Nashville Predators. Correct answer is
the New York Rangers. Wait a minute. All right, I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to be completely honest.
Were you watching the football game?
I was watching the football game.
There's a couple of times I saw you look up at the TV screen. I go, Dan's going to get tripped up here.
Ryan, I'm sorry. I'm just not locked in on the Gauntlet. I need to be more locked in on the Gauntlet.
Both of I had two Rangers answers, so one of them was the Rangers.
What question are we on? Question
2.
Question 2. It's Anthony Sharks and the Predators.
That's incredible.
So we are all tied up at 1. We'll go to question number 3. Who was the last Blue to score a shorthanded goal? Ryan, you said Robert Thomas. Anthony, you said Robert Thomas. Correct answer is
Robert Thomas.
All right.
But
no.
Ryan did not use the options.
Nice job, Ryan.
Ryan leads 3-2. Let's go to question number 4, which Grant just came in, gave me a note, has a different answer. The answer is now completely different than what it was on the sheet. Will that change things? Question number 4, which team currently leads the NHL in power play percentage? Ryan, you said the Vancouver Canucks. Anthony, you said the New York Rangers. Correct answer is, or was,
the Tampa Bay Lightning.
It is the Tampa Bay Lightning. The sheet says the New York Rangers.
Oh, come on.
But now it is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Things change, Mox.
You're the starting quarterback now.
I get you're frustrated.
Well, I mean, when you
no question about
when
it.
you listen to Jamie wax poetically about the Rangers special teams,
it's where you go.
You think you're lined up perfectly.
Yep.
And then Grant comes in with a crap sandwich for you.
Little audible. Since we're talking football, it was a quick audible.
Good call. So what's the score?
So it is now 3-2 in favor of Ryan. Final question. Before coaching the Lightning for 7 seasons, John Tortorella's first stint as a head coach was a 4-game tenure with which team? Anthony, you said very quickly New York Rangers. You felt super Rangers. Confident about that.
Oh, I don't like how you're saying that now.
Ryan chose the Vancouver Canucks. He used the options. If it is the New York Rangers, Anthony wins. If it is the Vancouver Canucks, Ryan wins. The other option was the Columbus Blue Jackets. If it is the Columbus Blue Jackets, Ryan is a winner.
Son of a...
Ryan.
You have chosen poorly.
Correct answer was, Dan?
I'll get it this time. The New York Rangers.
I was about to say, where's my Rangers answer?
Oh, man.
Nice.
By the way, it's 14-0 Buffalo.
Oh.
Beating Pittsburgh.
So much for a game.
Yeah. We're going to get a game out of it. Don't worry.
Hey, Ryan, nice job. Nice job today. That was a heck of a battle there. Heck of a gauntlet.
Hey, Dan, can I say real quickly, go Griffins.
Go Griffins. Are you a Vianney Griffin?
I'm actually a St. Mary's Dragon, but I have two boys that are currently at Vianney.
Awesome. It's a great school. I hope your boys are enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying it too.
Yes, we are. It's a great school.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Go Griffins. Go Kyron Williams, the running back of the Rams, who now will enjoy an off season.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
See you,
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
See you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. See ya. It just had me laughing.
What?
Like, Ryan, that was a heck of a gauntlet battle. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. Hey, Dan!
Always a little worried. Where are you going to go with this, too? You know, what did I do? But no, Ryan, thanks for the nice comments about Vianney High School. Great place to go.
Absolutely. All right, so yeah, as Dan mentioned, the Bills are up 14-0 now. I was in the cone of silence. I didn't see how they scored. Do we have any...
I was reading the questions and the answers. I was locked in. I didn't see it.
If I'm not mistaken, it was either a deep ball to Dalton Kincaid or Dawson Knox, one of the two big guys. I know they have similar numbers. Kincaid?
Yeah, so Knox scored the first touchdown. We saw that one. Kincaid, 29-yard pass from Josh Allen. So Josh Allen has 2 touchdown passes in the first quarters. The Bills are up 14-0 on the Steelers.
So the folks in Buffalo, they just said, come to the stadium, pick your seat, and go for it.
Yeah.
That's how they did it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Apparently, they just let them in and said, go for it, find a seat, and let's pack the place. Yeah.
Boy, that's kind of rough if you paid a bunch of money to sit up close. But
I don't know if it was like, I read it as if every seat was pretty much available.
Yeah,
if you get in, you know, you do what you can do. But when they scored touchdowns, there's snowballs going everywhere, and it's pretty cool. It's a cool setting.
It's a great environment, and it also looks like the Bills are going to potentially get the ball back after a potential Pat Fryermuth fumble. So all things going Buffalo's way at this point. We'll keep you updated on that game. Maybe a little update coming up next year with what's trending with our guy Andrew Marsh. That's next in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
what's going on in the sports world with What's Trending Now. Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate a car and get tickets to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane.
You like that one, Dan?
It's time for What's Trending. Guys, the Bills currently lead the Steelers right now 14-0. For those that are not watching the game, they're listening to our show right now. What can you tell the listeners about what you've seen so far from Josh Allen and what you've seen so far from Mason Rudolph?
Well, this game thus far is kind of holding up to what we thought it would. The Steelers are having issues pressuring Josh Allen with no TJ Watt. They're not even having to lean too much on James Cook, but on 4 carries, he's already up to 5.8 yards per carry. Allen's taking care of the rest, and they're going with the 2 tight end look a lot with Kincaid and with Knox, who both have touchdowns. All things good for the Bills. I've seen a couple of throws by Rudolph because obviously we're not watching every single play and diagnosing all that, but Mason Rudolph looks shaky.
No, we're watching just about every play. When I come out going Rangers and not knowing which question it is, we're watching a lot of the game. But I wanted to ask you, in thinking of the Steelers, you got Mike Tomlin, future uncertain. Nick Sirianni, you don't know what's going to happen after tonight. Mm-hmm. And you... After yesterday, I think Mike McCarthy's gone.
I do too.
I mean, 3 playoff coaches that could be out in a span of 24 hours. I can't remember a time ever in the league that something like that has happened.
Do you think we will see these two get let go? I agree with McCarthy. I don't see it on Tomlin, and I don't see it on Sirianni.
Well, with Tomlin, does he want a break? You know, he could just step away and say, I need a break. He's feeling heat. Could the Steelers want to trade him? I mean, that's the other part of this, too.
His hometown team is also needing of a head coach.
Yes.
In Washington.
Yes. So those are like the ways I look at it. You could have an evil empire in Dallas if you get Bill Belichick and you got Jerry Jones. Mm-hmm. And then with Nick Sirianni, I mean, just the way that they finished. Now, they could go out against Tampa and play well and things cool and you move on. But I don't know, man. I mean, when I think of Steeler football now in the last decade, I think Mike Tomlin. I just do.
Yeah, I agree. If Tomlin wants to be there, I think he'll remain there. That's one of the most loyal. That is the most loyal organizations in football, if not in all of sports. They've had 3 head coaches in their entire existence. So I can't see it. But it is interesting how you bring that up. Where Tomlin, maybe it's Tomlin that says, all right, let's part ways here after 17 years, and he goes someplace else.
The other part of it, too, he's 3-8 in his last 11 playoff games. So he's going to feel a little heat. And they haven't won a playoff game since 2016.
Wow.
So even with the great success of not having a losing season, the expectations in Pittsburgh, guys, is that it's not only to get in, it's to win. Mm-hmm. You know, you're expected to win once you get in.
I would argue, though, that this falls on the front office. Get better players. The fact that this team is in the playoffs right now is absolutely astonishing. I have no idea how they're playing a game right now.
I picked the Steelers to be the last team in the wild card, but it took me like everything to try to convince you guys and myself that was actually going to happen.
And it's not even the quarterback that you thought that would be playing for him.
No, and I'm not even the biggest Kenny Pickett fan. You're right. That roster isn't that great.
I don't know if they make the playoffs with Kenny Pickett as the quarterback, and that's saying something with Mason Rudolph taking snaps.
Yeah, and they're saying that Tomlin wants Pickett back, like in terms of being his starter. Mm-hmm. He wants that to happen. The other part of it, too, is that Mike Tomlin and his staff, they have like the fewest coaches on their staff in the entire National Football League. So you may have a front office go to him and say, look, you're going to have to add. You may not be comfortable with it, but this is what we're going to do because maybe we're a little bit behind the times on what other teams in the NFL are doing.
Yeah, sure. And if you're Tomlin, too, maybe you're up for it at this point.
Yeah.
You say, okay, let me delegate a little bit more. I understand why you would want to have a coaching staff that was a little bit slimmer because you want to have just your voice carry. It's less people to worry about not executing your message or your vision. less backbiting potentially. Look what happened in Carolina. So I could understand that. But at this point, at this juncture, maybe he would be open to it.
Yeah. Last thing here before we move on. A lot of players this weekend at winter warm-up for the Cardinals had a ton of praise for Victor Scott. Do you think that we could see Victor Scott on the big league roster by the end of the season?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
After the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm. Similar to what we saw with Mason Wynn.
Yeah, to Dan's point, maybe a lot sooner, though, because Mason Wynn didn't come up until what, September? Late September?
Mm-hmm.
So Victor Scott coming up at the All-Star break would make a lot of sense.
I would think,
it just depends on what your injury situation is. And
the outfielders.
Come on, don't be making players. Don't be putting that on players.
Marsh,
Anthony.
you know better than I do. Players get hurt.
Come on.
Players get hurt, Mox.
Outfield last year hit a combined 246 and a 329 on-base percentage, ranked 19th in OPS. I mean, they just have to have more production from that spot. And they're saying that Victor Scott is starting to show some power and maybe grows into his body a little bit more. But the one thing he does have that you can't teach is speed.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals didn't steal a lot of bases last year. You would anticipate with Mason Wynn, they'd steal a little bit more. Maybe Jordan Walker gets a few steals in there. Tommy Edman playing every day, gets on base, he's going to steal. But it could be a player that changes the complexion of what you do. I mean, this is probably a bad comparison, but when Vince Coleman came up, he changed the team back in the mid-'80s. And I understand it's a completely different game, but they're trying to get that element of speed, and maybe Victor Scott is one of those guys that can help them out.
A single, could turn into a triple. I feel like last year the Cardinals wanted to steal more bags, but being down like 4-0 in the first inning, it kind of changes your game plan because you don't want to run into outs that early in the game. And so when you're playing catch up, you don't really have the luxury of trying to steal a bag.
Right.
So it's a trickle down effect. It trickles down. It starts with the starting pitching, and that trickles down to your entire game plan.
We'll keep you updated on the Steelers and Bills. I had mentioned that there was a fumble potentially with Pat Freiermuth. They actually let the call stand. They said that the Bills' recovering player was out of bounds, so it didn't count. And the Steelers have taken that opportunity. They're now first and goal, trailing 14-0. So this is a pivotal drive for the Steelers. We'll let you know how that pans out. I saw an article that said, the Chiefs, the team that no opponent wants to face in the playoffs right now. I think there's a different team in the AFC that's that team. We'll talk about it next on 101 ESPN. Well, you've been watching all the action this weekend, Wild Card weekend, and it continues with the game going on right now. And if you're a FanDuel user, you already know that you can live bet these games, or you can get ahead of it tonight, for example, the Eagles and the Bucs, and you could do a same-game parlay. But if you're new to FanDuel, know that new customers can get started with a $150 in bonus bets offer. It's all guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's right, first $5 wager, new customers get started with $150 in bonus bets, all courtesy of FanDuel. But you do have to get signed up. Just visit FanDuel.com/fast to join today. That's FanDuel.com/fast. And then you can take advantage of that offer of $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 wager. It's all at FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Illinois. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update. Driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues are back in action tonight after losing over the weekend in overtime to the Boston Bruins. They'll take on the Philadelphia Flyers, and you can listen to that right here on 101 ESPN. Pregame starts at 6. Puck drop is at 7. Right now, the Buffalo Bills currently lead over the Pittsburgh Steelers 14-0 in the second quarter. We'll continue to talk about that one throughout the remainder of the show. And tonight, the Buccaneers will host the Philadelphia Eagles. If you missed anything from today's show, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the free 101 mobile app. Just head to the podcast page. You'll find all of our interviews and full shows there. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. I'm Andrew Marsh, and this Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
With Dan McLaughlin filling in for Jamie Rivers, I'm Anthony Stalter. By the way, you can check out Dan in the Morning, the opening drive with Randy Carricker and Brooke Grimsley tomorrow morning, starting at 7 o'clock. Dan, I saw an article that said the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, team nobody wants to face in the playoffs. And I guess I could see that because it's like, well, everybody thought that the Chiefs, they're fractured and all. Then they get in the playoffs and they look great on Saturday night. How about the team that played earlier on Saturday, though? Do you want to face C.J. Stroud and the Texans, who are playing with house money, who are not supposed to be a playoff team, let alone a divisional winner, and one that just took Joe Flacco and the rest of the Cleveland Browns behind the woodshed on Saturday?
I felt like this weekend was a changing of the guard in the AFC and the NFC. In the fact that C.J. Stroud he's like superhuman, man. There's no other QB in a rookie season. There's been some that statistically are right around it, but not like him.
No.
Not like what he's doing, and he looks like a 10-year vet back there running their offense. And then I look at the Green Bay Packers and what they did last night to Dallas with the youngest roster in the National Football League and a quarterback that is now coming into his own. I'm like, this is it. This is a changing of the guard. These are the two teams that in the future, like if you were starting the season of 2024, 25 in a week, you would say these are two of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl. I really believe that.
The Packers and Texans?
Yes.
A year from now?
Yes. Going in this summer, depending on what happens free agency. But these are two young QBs that are going to be there forever, barring injury, massive injury, and should be leading their teams to a lot of wins and a chance to win Super Bowls.
I don't know, quite frankly.
I don't know if you agree with that.
Well, I don't know. They just passed two enormous tests. By the way, Josh Allen just broke off a long run, and the route is on in Buffalo. The Bills, pending the extra point, will be up 21-0 now. 7 minutes left in the second quarter. 52-yard touchdown run for Josh Allen. So the snowballs are out. The Bills faithful, the Bills Mafia going insane, and it is all Buffalo. It's all Bills at this point. But going back to it, they C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love just passed two significant tests that we don't see a lot of first-year quarterbacks pass right away, and that's winning a playoff game. Jordan Love did it on the road. We could sit here and talk about, Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys, and this is what they do, and Dak Prescott, and this, that, and the other thing. The Packers still took it to them, though. They went down to Dallas, ran the ball at will. Jordan Love constantly moved the pocket, found open receivers, attacked that soft zone that Dan Quinn likes to utilize at times, and it maybe sent Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn to the unemployment line. That's how good Jordan Love was yesterday.
Dan Quinn's defense led the league in takeaways for 3 regular seasons. They have no takeaways in 3 of the 4 postseason games that they played in. So he's as much to blame of what happened last night than Mike McCarthy.
I agree. He never, I was talking about this earlier, Dan. He utilized he used 6 DBs. He wanted speed over size. And Aaron Jones ran the ball down their throat, and he never adjusted. And there were still openings in that zone. You got 6 DBs, and you got Romeo Doubs running around scot-free. You got Musgrove, the tight end, running around scot-free. It's unbelievable what they did to that defense last night.
Okay, I thought I had the roadmap for a QB and how you develop them. I thought I had it, okay?
Go for it.
So you get a QB, he wins a Super Bowl. Draft a QB late in the first round. Said QB sits for 4 years watching other QB as he gets old and goes somewhere else or retires. And then that new QB becomes the old one.
Yeah.
And then I watched C.J. Stroud. And I said, okay, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
This guy's from another planet.
Take one in the top 5.
Right.
But it goes to show you, right? You can find QBs anywhere. I mean, Lamar Jackson, last pick in the first round. Jordan Love fell. He was 24th pick or whatever it was. Brock Purdy was literally the last pick in the draft. Then, of course, you got guys like Josh Allen who were top 10. Tua was a top 10 quarterback. Pat Mahomes was drafted 10th. You can find them. Can you develop them and put them in the right system?
When I'm watching Love yesterday, how about the little sideline touch that he's got? Also, how he goes sidearm and does things like Aaron Rodgers used to do. I guarantee when he got to Green Bay, he wasn't doing some of those things. And you sit back and watch a guy that's a league MVP and what he does, you'd be an idiot not to follow in some of the things that you can do physically as well as Aaron Rodgers or as Rodgers could do like Brett Favre did. I mean, it's the playbook for how to develop a guy. It's just when you have a situation where a new staff comes in, front office comes in, you're on borrowed time.
Yeah.
You better win. And so what happens? These guys are forced to play. And when they're forced to play, sometimes you pick the right guy or they get buried.
Yep.
And in terms of Love, you watched him beginning of this season. It looked like a young guy. He has made so many strides in getting to where he's at today. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
He has made the most strides of anybody in the NFL this year.
And I agree completely with that, Dan. The other thing he does, so you talk about the arm talent, his ability to drop down, and he's also mobile. Green Bay's pass protection, is very good. But even yesterday, you got Micah Parsons on the other side, and that kid that at left tackle did a remarkable job. But Jordan Love's ability to get outside, it's the second play now that guys like Jordan Love can make. Obviously, Mahomes can make. Josh Allen can make that. Do you have a quarterback that can make the second play when the first one isn't available? Because if you don't, and you have a sitting duck, good luck trying to win in today's NFL. It's going to be difficult.
Either one of these teams, do you see them advancing beyond this next weekend?
So the Texans, assuming the Bills continue to roll here, they would go to KC, and then Houston would get Baltimore. That's tough.
It'd be very tough.
And then Green Bay we know that Green Bay is going to face San Francisco. I give Houston a better chance of upsetting Baltimore than I do Green Bay. Kyle Shanahan knows LaFleur. Not that those two will kind of square off, but he'll have the intel on, hey, this is how you're going to defend this defense. Joe Barry, I think, as good as his scheme worked yesterday in Dallas, I don't think he has any shot of keeping San Francisco contained. But C.J. Stroud is such a difference maker that I wouldn't put it past him to go into Baltimore and potentially pull off the upset. I'm not predicting it, but they went in there in week 1 and defensively did okay. I mean, it wasn't a great game. They couldn't move the ball, but it's a much different Houston Texans team now than it was in week 1.
So Saturday you would have Houston at Baltimore or Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
That's at 4:30 Eastern. These are Eastern times. At 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock St. Louis time, Green Bay at San Francisco. That's on Saturday. Then Sunday, you'd have Philly or Tampa at Detroit, which would be fun to watch. That Detroit crowd was just incredible last night. And then Kansas City at Buffalo or Pittsburgh, and it looks like at Buffalo, would be the first Patrick Mahomes road game in his history.
How about that?
Playing in the National Football League. It's just amazing to me that he's never played a road playoff game.
That's how good that guy's been.
Yeah.
Going back to the Packers potentially defeating San Francisco. Now, when the Packers won the Super Bowl in that 2010-2011 season, they were the final seed. They were the 6th seed. That first round, they beat the Eagles, an NFC East team. They then went to your Atlanta Falcons, who were the 1 seed. beat them, and then faced off against a divisional opponent in the NFC Championship game in the Chicago Bears. And then they beat them.
That was the Jay Cutler.
They beat that team and went on to win the Super Bowl. This whole playoff is somewhat setting up to do something similar where Jordan Love comes in, he beats an NFC East team, could take down the number 1 seed, and then could potentially go into Detroit, an NFC North rival, beat them as well, and go to the Super Bowl. It's possible because we've seen it before with Aaron Rodgers.
You sick son of a you-know-what.
You watch your language.
Storyline guy.
Did you see what he just did there?
You watch your mouth,
He
Marshy.
did the whole 2010 Aaron
How do you
Rodgers
think I
thing.
feel?
You watch your language there.
I don't want this team to
Stoltz.
succeed.
Well, you got to pick a team. You haven't picked one yet.
I don't like any of them.
You don't like the Packers. I get that. You don't like the Lions. You're a Vikings fan. Fine. What about the Niners?
Don't like them.
Ravens.
I like them.
All right. Baltimore Ravens is Marshy's team for the playoffs.
I like the Bucs. I like the Eagles. I like the Texans.
Okay.
The Chiefs have won too much. I had the Bills in the Super Bowl before the season started.
Well, there you go.
I'm
So
a
I'll
Bills
root for
guy.
them.
I'm a Bills guy just because they had the 4 straight losses. They had wide right. I mean, I don't know, man. I love watching Josh Allen. I think he's Brett Favre reincarnated in a Buffalo Bills uniform.
There you go.
He's a riverboat gambler, man. I kind of love it.
Riverboat Ron.
I think it would be interesting because the Bills in previous years have had a ton of expectations on them to get to the Super Bowl. I don't think those expectations are nearly as high as they used to be. So I think they could use that and then move their way into. That's usually how things go, right? Like,
they
have high expectations, and then a few years later, it's like, oh, hey, we made it.
This team's coming. Watch for they stink. Well, forget about them. And then all of a sudden, the next year, they get in. All right, with Dan McLaughlin, Anthony Stalter, Andrew Marsh, it's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Does Oli Marmol have the right mindset heading into a critical year? Well, let's hope so. That's next on 101 ESPN. The Cardinals had their winter warm-up over the weekend, and we had talked a little bit earlier about some comments made by John Mozeliak and also Sonny Gray. Well, what about Oli Marmol? I know, Marsh, that you had taken notice to some of the things that were coming out about the Cardinals coaching staff and some of the things that Oli Marmol was saying, and so including some comments that you can find on John Denton's Twitter page at John Denton 555. So Marmol on... actually, I'll read this first one. St. Louis Cardinals manager Oli Marmol on adding advisor Yadier Molina. I had numerous conversations with Yadi at all times of the day over the last couple of months, leading into him accepting the position to join us. At the end of the day, I wanted him around as much as possible. I have a good relationship with Yadi. I respect him a ton, and we worked well together. We went back and forth, and my hope was to have him in our dugout often. But the time's not right for that just yet. So having any bit of Yadi is definitely a good thing. He had also mentioned, talking about some of the hires of Daniel Descalso, Molina, they're about wanting what's best for the club and swallowing his ego. Marmol is going into the final year of his contract and knows his future could be in jeopardy without success. Dan, you have mentioned this. You have mentioned this on these airwaves. I know you have talked about it with us off these airwaves about how Oli wants to win. He wants to be successful. He wants to win, and he does not view. And you could choose not to believe what we're saying.
Sure.
You could choose not to believe Oli. But he does not view these hirings as a threat. He wants to win in any way possible, and he's willing to take on obviously great minds like Yadi in order to do so.
I think the organization as a whole has been humbled. Last year was a humbling experience for this organization. They're not used to losing. I mean, they're just not. I mean, it had been over a decade plus that they had not lost and had the kind of season to where it was not only losing season, but the manner in which they lost. And I'll take it a step further. Even the addition of Chaim Bloom. Bringing in a guy that has had success at other places, in front offices, a bright mind in the game, well respected, and all of a sudden you bring him in with John Mozeliak there, and to Mo's credit, he says, no, I want a different set of eyes watching us. He had a hand in some of the players that were brought in. I've had breakfast a couple of times with Oli, and unsolicited, he's brought it up about Yadi. He's like, man, I'm doing everything that I can to get him and to join our staff. He goes, I don't care what the perception might be that he's the guy in waiting. I just don't care. I'm trying to get the best people and surround myself with the best people to have a chance to win. And I truly believe that. I know some, like you said, will not. I do. I choose to believe what Oli's saying, and I know Oli very well. He wants to win, just like everybody else, and if this gives him a better shot to win, then he's going to go for it.
Definitely. Any other things that stood out to you for the Cardinals winter warm-up? We discussed a little bit earlier about John Mozeliak and actually Sonny Gray, and Sonny Gray said that there was a little bit of a collaboration. Mo was listening to some of the things that Sonny Gray was saying after the signing, and maybe making some recommendations that Mo was willing to say. And look, should Mo and the Cardinals know more about like the pitching labs that are around Major League Baseball and get up to times a lot more? Yeah, that goes without saying. I also think it's good, and this plays into what you just said about the organization being humble. It's good that they take a step back and say, we really need some outside voices that are now with us to tell us what's wrong.
Yes.
I think that's at some point we've got to move forward here.
It'd be like somebody listening to our show and finding 10 things that are wrong, and it'd be very easy.
Yeah,
it'd be really easy to say.
Let's just go to our text line.
Yeah, you guys are doing this wrong. You
Remove
need to be
Anthony.
Yeah, Dan sucks. Marshy, I don't like the Gauntlet. Whatever. You're going to find that.
What is that? Can you tell me more about that?
It's called the text line.
Text line
314-399-9646.
399.
Oh, I see what you did. You did the Mo thing.
I'm in here and you bring up Yoho.
Hey, Dan, you alluded to it.
I did. But
Marsh, I missed it. You did the Mo thing there. Tell me more.
What's that? Tell me more about that.
I just think they've been humbled, and they're saying, hey, a different set of eyes is something that, I mean, the nucleus of the front office has been there for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, Mo is one of the longest tenured front office people in sports. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes, not that you rest on what you've done, but you've had so much success doing it your way that you continue down that road where sometimes you got to zig and zag from what you've been doing. And I think that's part of what they're trying to do.
I agree.
Now, from a different standpoint, could you say that it was glaringly obvious what the issues were? Why did you not do anything internally instead of bringing these external people in to take a look at and see what is wrong, when you could just look at our text line? They'll tell you what's wrong. But also, like, I know I say that jokingly, but not though, because we've talked about it all summer long. The issues are right in front of us.
Mm-hmm. I got three points on that. One, it is a good point, and it is a fair question. It is. Two, the bottom line is you didn't know. So how do you correct it? Do you still put your head in the sand and think everything's going to be fine because this is how we did it 10 years ago and we're good, which shows arrogance and it shows stubbornness? Or because all of that now is moot, are you going to actually do something about it? It's kind of like listening to maybe some self-help things, whether it's a book or it's, YouTube or whatever, agreeing with it and then not doing anything about it.
The Cardinals went 35-25 in starts in which they had 6 or more innings given to them by starters. So what did they do? They went out and tried to correct this, now albeit with older guys, but Gibson, Lynn, and saying, look, if we can get 6 or more innings out of a starter, we have a chance to win. Then they corrected, you would think, some of the issues that they've had in the bullpen. And so to your point, Anthony, I think things snowballed so quickly for them, it wasn't going to be a quick fix. And I know, Anthony and Marshy, that you want that in sports and that we are, we're prisoners of the moment, so to speak. Yeah. But it was just going to take too much time. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to the All-Star break and they're like, man, we got chips that we can trade here. And yes, we haven't been in this position, but we're not getting back in this thing. I mean, you had to take a realistic view of where you were at the All-Star break and say, we're not going to rattle off 10 in a row to get back in this thing. And remember, after the break, they started to play well.
Yes.
Initially, for about a 10 to 15-day period, it wasn't enough.
Right.
They regressed to back where they were, and I think they realized, you know what, we need to cut bait and reassess once we got to the offseason and take our lumps right now.
Yep, and they did. And then they did.
Yeah.
And we'll see how
it was
all,
tough.
Yeah, and then look, the proof's going to be in the pudding.
Yep.
We'll find out if it winds up being a successful thing or not, what they did this offseason. I still think they need more. I think you also think they still need more. They seem to be pretty content with it, which I think is one of their problems.
I think they're going to do more. I've been saying that forever.
Man, I hope so.
I think the bullpen, they're going to do something, and with that, realizing that they got to hedge their bets with these older starters. Sure. And that if these guys just don't go deep, then we need a lot of arms in our bullpen to cover innings, and we need quality arms. Now, I'm not talking about guys that are coming up from AA and AAA and just trying to fill innings to get through games. I mean quality arms in their bullpen. Right. And if they get that, then I think they have a chance to win.
Can the Chiefs overcome their regular season issues and continue to produce like they did on Saturday night moving forward? We'll get into that next on 101 ESPN. Throughout the month of January, you can find sensational deals at Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum. Just start off at AutoCentersNissan.com. Peruse the over 700 vehicles that they have in their stock, whether it's new Nissans, pre-owned vehicles, and that's any make or model, cars, trucks, SUV, vans, whatever you're looking for, they've got it. And then after you're done at AutoCentersNissan.com, you lined up a couple of test drives, go down to Herculaneum, see the great team that they have at Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum, test drive some vehicles, talk to their finance department, which is the best in any dealership that I've found. They'll tell you about the 30-day return policy that they have. It's actually a promise because they feel so confident that you're going to drive off the lot and feel great about your purchase that they give you 30 days to return the vehicle. And under any conditions, don't worry about it. We'll refund you. on the price if you need to bring it back. Plus, they give you a lifetime complimentary warranty. It's all available at Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum. Tell them Stalter sent you. But again, start at AutoCentersNissan.com. Then head out to the dealership. One location, one dealership, over 700 vehicles. It's Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN 502. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. A Mason Rudolph to Deontay Johnson touchdown makes it 21-7. It's weird. The Bills have dominated this game, guys. And yet, if you think about it, the Pittsburgh Steelers were at the doorstep when it was 14-0. Mason Rudolph got picked off in the end zone. Had they scored then to make it 14-7, who knows, maybe it's 21-14 as opposed to where it's at now. Point being in that the Bills feel like they should be up by 40, and they're not. And we know this Bills team has the capability of blowing it.
Wouldn't it be great if the Steelers could get it to within 9?
I think so.
It'd just be amazing. And I'm saying that
weird number
only for my friends. You know, the line was 10, and I just thought it'd be great for my friends.
For your buddies.
Yeah. Get it within 9 or below and see what happens.
Dan, you're a thoughtful guy, and you continue to show that.
I just care about people.
I'm a people person.
People person, especially around on Sundays and Monday nights.
503.
Don't forget Saturdays.
Yeah,
Saturday
nights. Now we have those days are off now. We can wait.
Go to college. It's basically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
They got those big Mac games on Tuesday nights.
They do Maction. They like to call that.
Maction.
503, your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. By the way, if you want to send us a question, we've got our Sports Six Pack coming up, 314-399-9646. Sports Six Pack coming up in about 10 minutes. The Kansas City Chiefs, I don't think anything was fixed over the weekend, although they certainly looked good. I think that game was more about the Dolphins. Tua looked completely frozen. Don't blame him. But he looked completely out of it. Some of his throws, even the one good throw he made, was woefully underthrown to Tyreek Hill. Hill just made a play on it. He looked done. Dolphins looked done. Of course, they're missing 7 starters on defense. So I don't think there was a lot to take away from Kansas City's perspective. I will say this, though. Pacheco continues to be a beast. He looked great again. Mahomes dealing with the elements, just like Tua did, but he performed. Rashee Rice is a dude.
He is.
He can play.
He averaged 4 yards a catch in the regular season, and now he's starting to get downfield. He had 3 catches of 10 or more. So they were able to stretch the field. You're not hearing about Kelsey as much, but Rashee Rice was the difference maker, along with Mahomes and the running back, for Kansas City to win that game. And I'm with you on Tua. Really, it wasn't just that game. I mean, it was kind of a collection of games down the stretch in which this was happening. He had no 300-yard passing game after Week 10.
Wow.
And he was throwing a lot of INTs. That was the other thing. His last 8 games, he had 9 touchdowns, and he had 7 INTs. Wasn't quite the same guy. And I do think anytime that when I look at it, Miami has to have home field advantage to get to a Super Bowl.
Yes.
They just do, because McDaniel's teams are now 4-10 in games played in December and January, the last 2 seasons, 16-6 in the others. I mean, they have to have warm weather.
Absolutely. We talked about this. I had said I had picked the Dolphins to win the East. Now, they didn't. They fell one game shy. But I thought that they would come out of the gates firing.
Which they did.
Which they did. They had a lot of road games early on, too.
Yes.
So the schedule actually favored them in the second half because they had more home games in the second half. But the injuries started to pile up. The defense came around for a couple of weeks, and then when the injuries piled up, then it went away again. But you're absolutely right. They lost that game on Saturday night in Week 18.
What does it tell you, too? And I wrote this in my notes, but I said beat better teams. They're 1-6 against playoff teams this year.
That's the same problem Dallas had.
Went through their schedule, and I just started jotting notes. They were 1-6 against playoff-bound teams.
Right. The Chiefs did something to the Dolphins that Tua's going to get a lot more of moving forward. Kansas City, Steve Spagnuolo, who's a great defensive coordinator, muddled the middle of the field. That's where Tua makes his money. Yep. He compacted the middle of the field, and he said, dude, you're going to have to throw outside the numbers to beat us. And he didn't. Teams are going to do that moving forward. Tua is deadly accurate, short to intermediate, and then those, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and all those guys, they can make plays after the catch. But when you compact the middle of the field and you have those contested passes over the middle, Tua's a different quarterback.
Would you bring him back for another year? He's got 1 more year remaining on his deal. Right now, the cap goes to $23 million with him. They're going to have some cap issues. Tyreek Hill's 31, Jalen Ramsey's 27, Chubb 26, Xavier Howard 25, Armstead is 20. They may have some cap issues. So would you bring Tua back? And to his credit, he played all season and had the issues the year before, and it was thinking about stepping away from the game.
Right.
So give him a ton of credit. Would you put him in a dome and say that he goes to Minnesota and go sign Kirk Cousins?
No, thank you.
No, you don't want Tua?
No.
Okay. You just mentioned Kirk Cousins. I think whether we're talking about the Dolphins in this case or the Bears and Justin Fields, it always comes back to what are your options? Tua and what? If it's Tua or Kirk Cousins, I would take Kirk Cousins.
Me too.
But what's the cap? You brought up a great point. They got cap hell coming.
Yep.
When you're not paying the quarterback, you could do all these things. Look at the Rams last night. Matthew Stafford was incredible. Puka Nacua was incredible. But you could tell the defense, the roster overall, wasn't great. Why? They got to pay Stafford. The Chiefs. You have to start to nip and tuck in certain areas. Wide receivers, not the best. Why didn't they give them better receivers? Well, you have to start to figure out where your cap space is going to allow you to put, some depth. So when it comes to the Dolphins, you're right, Dan. If they're paying these guys and are making some big time decisions, they may have to start over too in the draft. Maybe with a mid-round pick.
Here's another thing. Mike McDaniel, since taking over in Miami, has only 3 wins in the months of December and January. 2 of those wins have come against the New York Jets.
That's a good team. The Jets. They got Aaron Rodgers.
Defense.
They got the Aaron Rodgers.
They can't score, and Aaron Rodgers spent maybe 5 minutes on the field before leaving the field. But this team, we've talked about it many times. This team cannot perform. Now, some of those losses have come at home, but they cannot perform late in the season because the weather change. I don't know what it is. I read a stat before the game on Saturday that the Dolphins have been 0-10 in their last 10 games when playing in weather under 46 degrees.
Marshy, they have one postseason win since Dan Marino retired.
Wow.
That's it.
And since the Lions won, they are now the longest. They're the team now with the longest drought.
The longest drought, the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Boy, you wouldn't think that, would you?
No, I wouldn't have. I would have thought you'd had one home game that you probably would have won, advanced, and then got knocked out when you went to Buffalo or somewhere, Kansas. I don't care where it is, somewhere cold.
I mean, that's how it usually goes for dome teams, though, too. I mean, when you think about teams that have struggled in the domes, if they go on the road, do they play in a dome? If they don't, they typically get knocked out. If they do, they're fine. But like the Saints, when they won in 2009, I think they hosted. Because they were the number one seed, were they not? I think they
were the number one seed.
That was the Brett Favre year with the Vikings.
They did when they cheated, yeah.
So Minnesota had to go down there. Of course, they had the what is it, Bounty Gate going on and all that.
Go watch the highlights, Anthony.
Still, they're a dome team that played in a dome. They're good. They're fine.
What do you think then of C.J. Stroud and the Texans having to go on the road after playing at home this last weekend?
I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it matters.
I do too, especially with the weather we're having.
Built. Yeah, it's the way your team is built. Kansas City, that was no surprise on Saturday night. It was negative 22. Negative 22. Kansas City's like, no problem. Miami, Tua looked frozen. Andy Reid had his mustache all jacked up. He didn't care.
It looked like the snowman from the Rudolph movie.
He certainly did. It was. That's the thing. People don't know that, Marsh. It's a good point. Sports Six Pack is next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is now.
It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Dan McLaughlin, Anthony Stalter. Here's Andrew Marsh with your questions. Go ahead, Dan.
Question 1, please.
Question number 1.
From the 217, between the 2022 Winter Classic and Saturday's Chiefs game, I've attended 2 of the 5 coldest games in North American sports history. Is this a point of pride or a sign something is seriously wrong with me?
I think it's both. I think it'd be both.
You're a fan. You love it. You got passion.
You're a psychopath. We can appreciate that.
It's okay too.
Yeah.
So my buddy asked me yesterday, or maybe it was Saturday, I can't remember, one of the 2 days, that if the Rams had been in the same situation, say the Rams are still here in St. Louis, they are playing in their outdoor stadium that was designed and thrown away for whatever reason. It looked cool. Mm-hmm. Let's just say they're in the same situation as the Chiefs, right? We're playing in really cold weather. Are you buying tickets, cheap tickets, because the ticket prices went down? Are you buying tickets to that game and going to it?
Not a chance.
Marsh, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna be there. And I'm going to be in that media box. I'm going to be covering the crap out of that team in the comforts of that media box.
And for people that don't know, it might be enclosed. And it's warm. And it's just like sitting there in a suite.
Up, Dan, I just said I was going to be there. Okay. Don't have to go into any details.
Question 2, please.
Question number 2.
Oh, I do have a question, though.
Let's use this one.
No. Well, okay, so question 2 would be, how much would someone have to pay you to go sit at a game when it's that cold?
Man, I don't think they'd have to pay me anything.
Really? You're gone. You're there.
Sell your soul on that?
Well, I'm not selling my soul, but I'm going to the game, especially, let's just say, Rams are playing. Let's say they haven't been in the playoffs in a while.
Marsh, you know how comfortable your couch is?
It is very comfortable, but this is like something different, you know? I'm used to the cold weather. I went to school where it was this weather all the time.
Yeah.
We had tunnels to get to class. Go underground to get to class.
You went to class?
I did go to class.
Nice job.
Not every class every single day. But I went to class.
Yeah.
So I would definitely be out there. Now I'd be wearing all sorts of gear. And apparently if you put cardboard on the ground, it keeps you warm. I found that out from our scientist and Jamie Rivers.
The things that Jamie watches, I mean, you guys
He's on it.
Yeah, he is. He found some clip of somebody in Kansas City talking about cardboard and how, like, the air, you know, like, because cardboard, it's got like little pockets basically. Because of those pockets, the air, I don't know, scientifically does something, whatever, that kind of blocks the cold. So if you're sitting on cardboard or standing on cardboard, you're warmer than if you're not.
Well, it's the concrete, I guess, is so cold and it seeps through the soles of your shoes.
Yeah, I don't know. Jamie had and after watching it, I got to be honest, I was hooked. Give me some cardboard for cold games.
I don't know if there's enough money there is enough money to pay me to go, but I, like you guys, like you would go, Marshy. I don't know if I could do it.
I'll set my price at $10,000.
You know what? If someone paid for,
I'd go $5,000.
Like if someone paid for my parking,
maybe $1,000.
I'd like some parking.
You can't
passes.
Look, Marsh.
What?
Marsh, you can't go back.
Now you're adding a lot.
I'll show up for free.
Uber or the Metro Link.
You can't now say, well, I'd like some parking passes. People already got you for free. That's it. There's nowhere to go.
A lot of elements you're throwing into this, Marshy, now.
Yeah.
I'd still go. Yeah, I'd definitely go. If the Rams were still in town and there was a playoff game outside.
You're there.
Well, okay, here's another question. Would you rather stand in freezing cold temps, snow, right? But there's no wind, right? There's no wind. Or would you rather be in a stadium where it's still cold, wind going, but it's like freezing rain?
I couldn't take the wind.
Because of the snow. Yeah, the wind
that's what the Winter Classic was like here. It was cold. It wasn't that cold, but there was wind and it was rainy and it was kind of two different things going on.
Give me the snow and cold, no wind.
I can't handle the wind when it's
wind is
cold and
tough.
windy.
They
said they put Vaseline around on parts of their face that was not covered.
Oh,
so you're wearing like a ski mask or something, then they put the Vaseline around and that would protect. Yeah, some of the wind.
I can't believe some of those guys were shirtless in that stadium in Kansas City.
What happened to the frostbite? Wasn't there supposed to be like frostbite if your skin was exposed for more than 20 seconds?
Here's the thing. We saw that guy on TV. We have no idea if that guy is still breathing. Like, we don't see
the guy without his shirt on.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the players.
That could be dead.
I was walking into the station today, and we have that little fountain.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you guys make Jamie go in that one year and go not
He
swim,
went
but
in
he dipped in there?
himself. It was his idea for a video. Went right in there in the winter, bathing in that fountain.
Freezing cold.
It
was like temperatures like now that he did it in.
No issues.
Did you guys pay him to do that, or was it a bet?
Nope. Nothing.
He just did it.
He just did it.
And that was before he was wearing Speedos, too.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is the 816. Said, went to the Chiefs game, was absolutely worth it. Cardboard 100% worked. I thought it was stupid, and my God, did it work.
Wow. Okay. We got verification on that.
Apparently it
Thank
worked.
I'm going to walk around with cardboard the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Just under my feet.
Under feet, exactly.
I'll have to kind of snowboard my way through the streets of St. Louis.
Yeah.
Question 3, please.
Question number 3.
From the 314, at best, I view Miles Michaelis as a 4 or 5. Am I wrong?
Okay, so we do have to at least consider that Miles Michaelis, as horrific as he was in months of like April and June, was really good in May and pretty good in July, if I remember correctly. Like he was more inconsistent. I mean, he was great in May. I'm more apt to think that was an aberration and that will even out next year. So, no, I don't think you're crazy, but I think Miles Michaelis went right. Let me say this. I think Miles Michaelis next year is a 3.
Who do you have as 2? Gray 1. Who's 2?
Gray is 2.
Who's your 1?
We don't have one.
Okay. Let's just say that they don't add a number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Gray would be your number 1.
De facto 1.
Okay. Who's your 2?
De facto 2 is Michaelis.
Yeah, me too. Yep, me too. And then I've got Lynn Gibson, Mats.
Yes. Same. And that's probably the way they'll have it too, because they're not going to make another move.
If Michaelis is on,
about winning.
He is a 3. He's a very good 3 and could be a 2. But his All-Star season, he was that guy. He was a number 2.
Yes.
But that's a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's times have changed, and he's gonna have to come out and have a decent start to the season.
Yes.
I think generally speaking,
4 or 5.
I don't either. If he's a 4 or 5, they're in trouble.
Yes, I agree.
Question 4, please. 4, 5.
Question number 4.
Yeah.
From the 636, who do you think will make it to the Super Bowl? I have the Chiefs versus the Lions. Not me, this texter does.
Yeah, who do you have?
Well,
Bills?
Initially, I had the Bills taking on the Eagles.
Okay.
Now, do I feel confident about that?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No, I don't. But I'm going to stick with it because I don't want to be a fraud here.
Nice.
But I will have a different team
if one of them gets knocked
Absolutely.
out. Bills up 21-7, by the way. Just started the third quarter. Dan, I made a prediction just like we all did at the start of the year, and Jamie and I both had the Ravens and 49ers. Actually, Carey did too. Ravens and 49ers in the Super Bowl.
What made you think about the Ravens to do that?
I love Lamar, and I thought that Todd Monken would have a huge impact on him, and I didn't foresee the issues with KC, but I just kind of thought, like, you know, at some point, KC we'll take a step back. It's about parity. The NFL is constantly changing. So I just kind of thought, all right, this might be the year that Lamar makes his run. And then the 49ers, I don't see any threat in the NFC.
Do you think Atlanta is just kicking themselves right now? They had a chance to go get Lamar. There was other teams that had a chance to get him too.
They would have I do wonder if Baltimore would have let him go, though. I know they said, go talk to other teams, but didn't it seem like, now maybe this is hindsight, but when it all played out, if looking back, I wonder if both sides were like, yeah, okay, fine, do it, no problem, knowing that they were eventually going to kind of figure it out.
You and I were doing a show, and this was going on prior to him signing, and we both are like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, bring him back.
Right.
Pay the man and bring him back.
Yes.
He's that good.
You have a franchise quarterback.
Exactly.
There's going to, unless he's Mahomes, most guys are going to have issues. Like Josh Allen is elite, and I still hear people, break him down. You're going to have things that you want to iron out with your franchise quarterback, but you got a franchise quarterback. Pay the man.
I've got the Bills and San Francisco in my Super Bowl.
Would that be no, I guess it wouldn't be a rematch, would it, of a previous Super Bowl?
No, it's the Bills,
Cowboys twice, Bills, Giants, and then Bills, Redskins.
That's right.
And then the Niners, a couple years later, played the Chargers.
Correct.
Steve Young.
Correct. That was 1994, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Question 5, please.
Question number 5.
Cut off, please.
Nostalgist, please.
Please.
From the 314, is 2023 the worst year in St. Louis sports recent memory? Let's say the last 20 years.
I don't think you could do that because you got City.
Exactly.
The birth of City.
And Mizzou, if you want to lump Mizzou in there. If you're a St. Louis sports fan that likes Mizzou.
True.
Yeah. And their basketball team was good.
Team. Yep.
Although I will say Mizzou's basketball team this weekend against South Carolina didn't love it.
Well, you're going to have ups and downs as a team.
When the Rams left, I didn't care what was going on in the other sports. That was tough. That was 8 years ago.
What year did they leave then? So 2016?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was right in the midst of the Cardinals not making the playoffs for 3 straight years too, wasn't it?
It was. However, the Blues went to the Western Conference Final that year.
Yeah, but that doesn't match
you
up.
Lost your football team. Cardinals didn't make the playoffs. Like you're right. That's a good run, but wouldn't you consider that a worse year than last year? Maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, the Blues and the Cardinals had top 10 draft picks. Those are the two main teams here. The Rams were always terrible. I mean, they were always terrible. Not always. Once the greatest show on turf faded away, they were terrible. Since 2004.
314 says, around 2007, Cards missed the playoffs, Blues sucked, and the Rams started the 15-65 run. The 07 Cardinals signed Kip Wells and Adam Kennedy. Those did not work out.
And Adam Wainwright was injured the whole year.
And Dunk said that they were still partying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dunk goes,
he was right in the middle of it.
I don't know if we were sharp that 07 year.
The 07 team was, it was tough to watch because Chris Carpenter, he pitched on Sunday Night Baseball to open the season. They got their rings. Everybody's fired up. It's on the heels of what happened last year, and then boom, he gets hurt on the first game of the season. And then they got to September. I'll never forget this. They had a chance in September, and the Cubs came through with a doubleheader. They had just crawled their way back in, the Cardinals, and it was like they just went flat on their faces, and that was it. Alfonso Soriano hit a bomb in the first day of the first game of the doubleheader, and the wheels came off, and that was it. They did everything to get back in and couldn't do it. So it was kind of a tough year.
That two could hit.
Oh,
he had a nice
Soriano. He had I loved his batting stance. He had a great batting stance.
And then he'd uncoil and just hit bombs.
Boom! Because he got a huge uppercut.
Wiry, strong.
Oh yeah,
good player. Very good player.
Question number 6.
Oh crap!
How could you do that to him?
Tee it up again, please. Question 6, please.
Question number 6.
Clean out.
Unbelievable. All right, Caleb Williams, it appears that he will be heading to the NFL. What do the Bears do? What does Caleb Williams do? Do we see him potentially pulling an Eli Manning?
I could see that for sure. Yeah, or a John Elway before it was an Eli. I think that the Bears should trade Justin Fields to some dopes and then take Caleb Williams 1 or one of these other quarterbacks 1. What I think the Bears will do is act like Justin Fields is a quarterback and not a running back, and they'll take Marvin Harrison Jr. thinking, just give him weapons, and then we'll be having the same conversation a year from now because the Bears can't get out of their own way.
Okay, I threw a theory at you.
You did.
See what you think, Marshy. I said that the Bears would trade Justin Fields to Cleveland. Cleveland then trades Deshaun Watson to Atlanta.
No, thank you.
And the Bears then draft Caleb Williams. Who would possibly, in their right mind, though, want the contract? 3 years guaranteed at like 138, something like that.
If you're a team, you're like, who is it?
Yeah, I'm good.
Is this a hoax?
Yeah, I'm good.
No, I don't want your mess. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it actually a good thing that the Browns lost in the playoffs? Obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but imagine if they made a playoff run without Deshaun Watson. Now they can look back and be like, okay, if we had Deshaun, we win that football game. Obviously, they're delusional, but does it help that narrative?
He was so bad. He's been so bad for the Browns.
Am I the only guy that likes Justin Fields?
Yeah.
Carey does.
No, Carey does. Carey loves him.
I think he can play. I'm get him Marvin Harrison Jr. and let's see what happens.
Right.
He gave you a little hope at the end of the season too.
He did.
Looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Come on, Anthony, back me on this. Help me out.
Carey will be here tomorrow.
Hey, you know what?
And I'll be in the morning.
I like it, Dan. Let's keep him in the division.
Oh, see? You thought you were going to get support, and then he gave you the old crap sandwich.
Yes, he did.
Tonight, Eagles, Bucs. You know, we should have believed the Cowboys when they told us exactly who they were. Does that apply to one of these other teams tonight? That's next on 101 ESPN. You know, this is a true story. So Jamie Rivers, who we all know and love, he was run down about 6-7 months ago. Hardworking guy, you know, somebody that's got multiple jobs and somebody that obviously an absolute workhorse. But he was run down. He was feeling the effects of everything that he had going on. And then he went down to mentality. And he sat down with the board-certified experts that they have there, told him how he was feeling, told him about how he wasn't feeling at his best and how he wanted to get back to feeling younger and energetic and all that, and mentality helped him. And I saw the differences. It started off, you know, kind of slower where you didn't necessarily pick up on it, and then all of a sudden you saw that Jamie was working out and he looked great, and he was feeling great, and he was talking differently, and, you know, a bunch of coffees wasn't around his desk anymore. He was just drinking water. He didn't need the energy that was manufactured because he went down to mentality. And then he took me down there. I did the same thing where I'm like, hey, I'm seeing the changes in Jamie. I'm feeling a similar way. Constantly run down, not feeling at my best. What can you do? And mentality was there. And they do a great job of making sure that they have the right program for you so that you as a man, when your testosterone dips, and it does over time, and you feel run down, you're feeling like, I need more energy. I want, you know, to get through the day and still go home and play with the kids and roll around and feel like I did when I was, you know, 20, 30 years old. That's what mentality does. So visit them at lowtusa.com or head down to one of their multiple locations. Tell them Jamie and Anthony sent you down there and get back on track the way you want to as well with the help of mentality.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues are back in action tonight after losing over the weekend to the Boston Bruins in overtime. They'll take on the Philadelphia Flyers tonight with the pregame starting at 6 and puck drop at 7. You can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. Over the weekend, the Texans defeated the Browns. The Chiefs beat the Dolphins. The Packers beat down on the Cowboys, and the Lions won against the Rams. The Bills are currently leading the Steelers right now, and then later tonight, the Buccaneers will host the Philadelphia Eagles. If you missed anything from today's show, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the free 101 mobile app. You'll find all of our interviews and full shows there, and it's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. This Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Yesterday, the Dallas Cowboys were who we thought they were. A team that was not going to get it done in the playoffs. If you didn't know that, you just could have listened to Marsh tell you 4 or 5 months ago. He told you how it was going to go down because that's how it always goes down with Dallas. They essentially, guys, were the people who we thought they were.
Yeah, they pooped their pants in the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah. Shout out to the late great Denny Green with that. Not the pooping part. We thought
they are who we thought they were.
We crown their ass. Are the Eagles
language?
Sorry. Are the Eagles, Dan Marsh? Should we believe them? Because this was a team that at the end of the year stumbled into the playoffs. You heard some of we don't know if there were just rumors or if there's some, smoke there. It's potential fire. But A.J. Brown, whether or not he was clashing with some of the players in the locker room. The defense, not nearly as good as it was a year ago, especially the secondary.
Second to last in passing yards allowed per game.
Not great when you're about to face Mike Evans and Chris Godwin tonight. Are the Eagles the team now that we should just believe heading into tonight's game against Tampa?
Were you guys surprised the Eagles are favored in this game?
I wasn't surprised that they're favored, but I do like Tampa. I like the Bucs tonight.
You know the name you have not mentioned?
Shaky Bakey?
Man, over 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns this year.
Not so shaky bakey?
No. And he's banged up, though, going into this.
Ribs and ankle.
I don't think enough attention has been put towards the finger of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. I mean, great point.
There's been so much talk about A.J. Brown out, Devontae Smith returns, but not enough has been, to me, can he throw the ball? Can he grip the ball? Can he throw the ball with effectiveness?
You're absolutely right. We saw the reports of Hurts is going to play, and everybody's like, cool.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. If he can't grip the ball, if he has issues, you saw Matthew Stafford. Stafford was banged up he had his hand wrapped, it was bleeding, and then he hit it on a helmet.
Exactly.
You're right, Dan. That's a good point.
I do like the Eagles tonight, though.
No.
I do. I'm just. So they've killed me the last 5 weeks. By the way, they've killed me.
Let me ask you this then. I set this up by saying, should we believe the Eagles are who they are right now, which is a team that looks susceptible to losing? But I think what you're saying is you expect the Eagles
to be the Eagles
now that the chips are down.
Yes.
And it's playoff time. The Eagles are going to go back to being the team that we saw for most of this year and obviously all of last year.
But I'm going to counter that and say where there's smoke, there's fire. It's not only with Nick Sirianni. It's not only with guys chirping about what's happening on the offensive side of the ball. It's not only the fact that their passing defense has been awful. There's been front office rumblings, too. I mean, all these things are coming into this game as storylines with the Eagles. None of them are positive.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems that I thought the Eagles would come out and give San Francisco a run to be the top seed in the NFC. The way that this season started on the heels of being in the Super Bowl, and man, was I dead wrong. But I think there's a lot of people that felt that way too.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of people.
Yeah, you weren't crazy in that thought,
No.
that line of thinking.
Yeah, I think this team either implodes like they have been in the last 5-6 weeks, and it all comes to a head, and it's ugly. It could be an ugly loss, or I think that this is where they start to get their stuff together, and they make a push, because a lot of people don't think that they have a chance in the playoffs this year, and rightfully so. I mean, they haven't proven anything, at least in the back half of the season, to where you would have any confidence in that team, but they were a Super Bowl contender last year. They were in the Super Bowl. They have that experience, that group, and I feel like that team and that organization, that city, when they're the underdog, that's when they really come to play. So I think if they do win this game, look for them to maybe give Detroit a game next week. I'm not going to say they're going to win, but I think they can use this as building blocks to move forward, and you potentially get A.J. Brown back as well. And last year, they weren't playing good football heading into the postseason either. They weren't. Jalen Hurts was injured last year. Gardner Minshew was their quarterback. They just weren't playing the football that they were playing at the beginning of the season, and then they go in the playoffs, complete 180, and they make it to the Super Bowl. And they were a holding call away from potentially winning that game.
It is interesting, though, that you say that. In hindsight, I don't remember them kind of limping in. But if you look at how everything's set up, your Vikings blew it against the Giants. So the Giants were the team that went to Philly. Philly destroyed them. And then, of course, Brock Purdy got hurt in the championship game. Then Josh Johnson got hurt, so you had to have Purdy go back in. He didn't have an arm. Everything kind of set up well. Now, they did play well in the Super Bowl. They could have won it easily.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. Maybe some of the issues that they had last year are just resurfacing again this year. Again, this is not, I don't think this is a great matchup. It is also a Tampa team that just beat Carolina 9-0 last week or whatever.
Exactly.
They're not, this is not a juggernaut. This is the NFC South representative.
I could see, though, if we show up tomorrow and you said, hey, Tampa Bay won by 10, I go, yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And if you said, oh, the Eagles blew them out and won by 21, I go, yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Right.
I could see this thing going either way.
Sure.
I don't have a good feel on it. The only thing that would concern me, as I said before, as an Eagles fan, is Jalen Hurts and his availability with his hand and his finger.
And you know what, though? I know this sounds a little weird, but it could play to their advantage because they need to run the football. They need to go back to giving the ball to DeAndre Swift, who is a good running back. And when he's gotten the football this year, he's done a pretty good job. The problem is they just continue to not give him the ball as much as they need to.
Yeah.
And so maybe their game plan will focus more on the run game, which then will open some things up for Jalen Hurts and just to make simple plays. And I think that is the best way for them to be effective.
Good luck. Tampa's defense that is one area that's legit. They're pretty legit.
You got to establish it, though. You have to. Otherwise, you will lose the game.
It's funny. I had that on my notes. Look at that. Has to be able to run the ball. You and I agree.
There we go.
The other part of this, too.
Looking at Dan's notes?
No, just
unbelievable.
I mean, this is what happens
Dan.
when you get together. On holidays,
you start to think.
It was great when you were over for Christmas talking about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has 20 turnovers this year.
Yeah, that's a ton.
That's the other problem, too, is that if they don't turn the ball over, I think they win.
Yeah.
I do, because that means they're running the football and he's not being forced into throwing interceptions. He's got 15 of those.
He's going to throw one pick tonight.
I would agree with that.
Dan McLaughlin, Andrew Marsh, Anthony Stalter, it's Fast Line on 101 ESPN. The Bills are up 21-10 right now. The Steelers kicked a field goal in the third quarter. There's still 3 minutes 42 seconds left in the third quarter. But this was a 21-0 game.
The Bills had a pick in the end zone, too.
Yeah.
This could be easily 21-17.
It could be 24-0. The Steelers blocked a punt, which then led to that first, or not the punt, field goal that led to that first touchdown.
Yeah.
Could be 52-0. It could be 17-10. I was just waiting for us to keep going with this. Yeah, it could be 23-13. All right, it's the Fast Line on 101 ESPN. Bet the board, 3 stars of the day, criticisms, compliments, all coming up next on 101 ESPN. 1051ESPN.com or on your 101 ESPN mobile app. Brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Dan was with me for the last 2 hours. Dan, thank you, as always.
Always fun to come in and visit with you guys.
And you can check out Dan McLaughlin in the morning, the opening drive, 7 to 10 with Randy Carricker and Burke Grimsley tomorrow.
We'll let it rip tomorrow morning.
Darn right you will. Let's bet the board.
Okay, let's do it. Bet the board, please.
Dan, Carey gave you his play earlier today. What was it?
It was the Eagles covering tonight against Tampa Bay. Line of 3. They're favored by 3, but he had the Eagles covering.
He's been talking about the Eagles now.
Yeah.
I've been saying the Bucs are going to win tonight. He's been saying you're dead wrong, so it doesn't surprise me that he went the Eagles route.
He went fly, Eagles fly.
Jamie gave us the Vegas Golden Knights as his selection tonight. Give you the odds on that. Let's see here. The Golden Knights are... they're up 1-0. They were minus 125 against the Predators. That's the end of the first period. But he got that in well before we started to bet the board. Marsh, what's your play?
I'm going to go with Kenneth Gainwell over 26.5 rushing and reception yards. So a combo of the both.
Total yards.
Need at least 27 from the fella.
There you go. I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts. I just mentioned this. Jalen Hurts is going to throw at least one pick tonight.
Yep.
So his yes prop is minus 114.
Is it really?
To throw an interception. So I got Jalen Hurts to throw at least one interception tonight at minus 114.
May come out like fluttering out of his hand and
like a tip ball or something.
Just sitting there with that bad finger and can't get a grip on it and tries to let one loose and just
get a grip.
Yeah.
Aerosmith style. You an Aerosmith fan?
I am. It's an album.
Yeah.
Get a grip.
It's outstanding.
It is.
Marsh, do we have the standings updated?
I have to go back and update over the weekend. I have to go and wrestle through, but I'll have those standings for everyone and for you.
Please do.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Marsh.
So
come on now.
I'm sorry, Anthony.
I thought you were on it.
It was a long weekend.
Our friend is here, and you're going to do this?
I understand. By the way, I already penciled Dan in for our first goal as Colton Parayko.
Yes, sir.
If you'd like to change that, you can. But
I was thinking about it for a long time, and I just went Colton Parayko.
All right. What do we got for 3 stars of the day here?
Yeah, I actually decided to go with game balls today.
Nice.
As part of the joke, because you mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago that, the NFL, they don't do game balls, or we wouldn't know about game balls unless they showed it on TV.
No.
Well, they did.
I said that they do game balls, but they don't make it a part of every game like the NHL does with the 3 stars. Don't you mince my words.
I'm just saying, we're doing...
I think what he's saying is that he wants game balls, and then he wants the guys to come out of the locker room with the game ball and then run around the field.
Opposite.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I don't love the 3
idea,
stars.
Anthony.
I think it's, it's not necessary.
That's like saying you don't like when the players are eating turkey on Thanksgiving after the CBS game.
That's one night. After every NHL game, there's 3 stars. It's just too much. Go ahead, Marsh.
All right, so our first game ball is going to Jamie's tie. Some people said it was too long. We agreed that it's just right.
Absolutely.
Well, how far did it go?
To his belt buckle.
Yeah, right to the belt buckle.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So kudos to Jamie's tie. It was looking good today. And our second game ball goes to Danny Mac for stepping up today. And for, Jamie left, so Danny Mac comes in.
I feel great about it, to be honest with you. I mean, I just overwhelmed. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the acknowledgement, the award.
I was forced into doing these 2 hours, but whatever. No, I wasn't.
No.
I love it.
All right, we got Blues hockey coming up. Blues Flyers pregame starting in less than 5 minutes. We got the game for you as well right here on the Blues Radio Network, 101 ESPN. Just a quick update for you. The Bills kicked a field goal. They're up 24-10. Steelers driving, though. They're about midfield. They're driving-ish. So anybody that was interested in an update in that game, there you have it. For Jamie Rivers and Andrew Marsh and Dan McLaughlin, I'm Anthony Stalter. We appreciate everybody tuned in. Again, Blues hockey pregame, Alex Ferrario, Joe Vitale.